All right, here we go. Welcome on back to another Stonk live stream. We have some really bizarre missing data in the CPI report this morning. Very, very strange. Like, half the data is freaking missing. What the hell? But it's okay because on screen here, this is Sarah Eisen, and right here, this is the 607 line. We have just double bounced on it. We've only bounced here now for about 3 minutes or so, but this is now a double bounce on 607. We've got AMD trying to really recover here. Micron bleeding out. Not a horrible surprise. I will say, we did a fundamental analysis on Micron this morning. The numbers are great, but you have to know what phase of the cycle a manufacturer like Micron is in and its valuation, and none of those things will make you very excited about buying it at this point. But all that's over in our stock tab for course members. We do see this reject over here on CoreWeave. Looks like we're going to try to take another stab at it here. See if we can get the cues to hold that critical 607 line. Now, if you go back over the last few days, we can see that 607 line has been hit here in the pre-market, twice here on the 16th, which was Tuesday. And when we lost it, we had an aggressive sell down. So holding that 607 is really important. So we want to see this. And if we can get CoreWeave to break through this line as well, that would be fantastic. We do see still, some slow enthusiasm for some of these other miscellaneous companies. Target, look at that. Target goes back over 100. We've been watching Target for quite a while, and we've done quite a bit of analysis on it as well. This 83 line has created a very nice floor for it, and it's really been straight up since then. Its yield has gone from somewhere around 5.5% as a dividend yield for Target up to about 4.5% because the price has recovered so well here. Something to watch. So we'll keep watching our 607 bounce right here. That looks like a pretty solid bounce right now. Let's see if we can actually break above, though, the levels to where we were at open, which would be about another buck to go here. So we'll see. Should we buy Lido? What's Lido? Lido. Oh, some current. I don't touch crypto until Michael Saylor is bankrupt. That's it. That's Kevin, okay? So take that for what it's worth. You may be like, what? Kevin, that's stupid. Never gonna happen. Well, then guess what? I'm gonna buy crypto. Anyway, so let's go see here what else. Looks like, did I just get a Nick T post? I did. Taking at face value, which several analysts said you shouldn't do given the reliance on imputations, linear interpolations, and other adjustments. The November CPI data shows core prices up 2.6, which would be the lowest since 21. Core prices up to the lowest since July, and moving just to goods showed a 6-month annualized rate of 1.9. Before the pandemic, we were closer to 0. Right. So this is not a surprise that, if you look at core goods, you're still seeing inflation there. And if I go to here, this was a great chart we were looking at this morning with the course members. You could see that tariff bump essentially right here. So not a surprise. Okay, good. Continuing to get the cues. Let's see here. We need another 20 cents now on the cues to break this. We've got a double bounce at 607 is decently bullish. This is the number we were looking at this morning in the course member live. I always say I don't think people are going to believe me until they're actually in the course member live stream. But we're right here, super benign, super boring pre-market. I'm like, I think institutions are going to red candle this because they're going to look and go, half the data is missing on CPI. And Micron's not a leading indicator, it's a lagging indicator. So I think we'll see some selling pressure. And the big tell today is, will we hold 607? If we hold 607, it's bullish. That was our alpha report this morning. Okay, that was right there at 6099. And look at this. down, bounce, down, bounce. That's bullish, right? And we held the line. That was so important. The fact that we literally went within 8 cents of the line over here and within 24 cents of the line over here to double bounce, round out, and go straight up both times, that should tell you something about technical analysis. Because I know there are some like technical analysis bears out there that are like, Kevin, the lines don't matter. This line's been here for months. So copy it, you know, for what it's worth, go copy it. But anyway, so Oracle, I want to see Oracle catch a bid. We're just now getting a positive bid above pre-market because I'm looking for, are people going to buy the dip here? I think to indicate that Oracle is getting a buy the dip, we really need this to be up about 5% today. And then we really need to regain this line on CoreWeave. And that could be quite optimistic. So I actually think we lack catalysts, which is kind of bullish, right? You know, we don't really have anything until we get new data January 9th and 13th. That's when we have that's the weekend of our mastermind in Utah. But anyway, that's going to be fun. But yeah, I mean, it's kind of like just to F off and go enjoy the holidays between now and Jan 9th to 13th. That's when the data is going to be at least somewhat more reliable, right? All right, so, okay, good. Let's go take a look at some talk of the day. I do think it's worth noting, also, I promised course members this morning that the moment I leave the studio, I will post exactly what I see when I open the door coming out of my office. And, you know, there's always a risk of that. Who knows? You see a bunch of, like, naked babies or something, be a problem, right? And it's like, I can't post that. But I did it. So I did that. So if you want to see that, I put that on my stories 11 minutes ago. You can see exactly what it looks like. I thought it was kind of cool. But anyway, then here's what I tweeted yesterday. I said that 24 hours. Jack's coming to say hi. Jack! Thank you. You want to come say hi really quick? I could hear you when you mess with the first door.
Hi.
Thanks, man.
Okay, bye.
Could you close the second one?
Yeah.
Thank you. All right. So, 24 hours after reportedly raising $10 billion from Amazon, OpenAI is back to raise tens of billions of dollars in new fundraise. I honestly think they can't pay the bills. I really believe this. I actually really believe that, and I'm not talking about not being able to, you know, like pay their payroll this month, right? Like, I don't want to sound that bearish. But what I'm saying is I think they are literally looking at their cash pile, right? And they're like, we can't afford our lease payments over the next, you know, for another like maybe we have another 3 or 5 months to afford and we're screwed after that, right? That's my take. And so I think they critically need to raise money. Otherwise, they're cooked. You know, we'll see. Keep in mind, they just did a deal with Amazon saying, oh, yeah, we'll use your Amazon chips if you give us some money. Okay, cool. And immediately after that, they're back to raising money again. Now at a reported, you know, $800 billion valuation or $750 billion valuation, which it just surprises me who could throw money at them right now. But they didn't say they closed the fundraise, you know, so it's possible that it never happens. All right, let's log in over here. All right, perfect. So this is good. Doing good right now on these lines. Somebody says, oh man, Kevin installed 2 doors. Yeah, these are massive doors. They're 500 pounds each slab, and so there are 4 slabs because they're French doors. That means this whole door unit is about 2,000 pounds. So I've got a ton of doors. Okay. So let's see here. All right. So on the street, we have the suits. What are the suits up to? The suits are saying, this is CPI surprises, fail to undo, earlier hawkish shift. Yeah, well, I don't think people are really going to take this data too much at face value. But we'll see. I know retail does in pre-market, hence also why I thought we would drop to 607 today, which we did. Okay, so what's the coupon right now? I think the coupon right now is release the app. Yeah, so for whoever's asking, meetkevin.com, you get lifetime access. The coupon's release the app. We're doing release the app because we are releasing the app this month, which is really exciting. Okay, good. So now let's go take a look at the boomers. So, the Doomberg. U.S. inflation unexpectedly slows. We saw that. Calm waters in early 2026 as policy restraints. That is true. I think we lack catalyst, at least until the second week of January. Besson sees two more Fed chair interviews this week. Okay. It's got to be Waller, dude. It's at the president's pace. He's been very deliberate, very direct with candidates in interviews in terms of them and asking them about Fed policy. Basically, are you going to cut rates? The announcement will be in early January. Trump is slated to interview Waller. Well, that was yesterday. Besson said Kevin and Kevin are very qualified. Besson also rejected this idea that Hassett should be disqualified. Tax refunds, blah, 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 blah. Okay, good. All right, fine. So that's boring. ECB holds rates with growth firmer. That's good. Trump media targets nuclear fusion. Oh, that's why the meme is going on now. Aha. Trump Media Group will merge with TAE Technologies, a closely held fusion developer founded in 1998. Transaction valued at $6 billion. Shareholders of each company own 50% of the combined all-stock deal. The deal marks another dramatic pivot for the company linked to Trump, which has previously diversified into offering financial products. Trump Media jumped as much as 40% in pre-market. Interest in nuclear fusion has gained interest. Well, that'll be really interesting to see the financials over here. Whatever. Okay. Oh, this was hilarious. The Excel piece. We'll talk about that. Basically, they failed to cover up their fraud because they forgot to adjust all of the columns on the spreadsheet. I read that story yesterday. I'm like, oh my gosh, so you knowingly covered all this crap up. And they're like, yeah, but, you know, basically, the problem is once you get into frauding, you kind of have to keep frauding because otherwise you're going to go bankrupt anyway. Tesla drivers are buying escape tools. Yes, I have in all of my Teslas. I have so in the Cybertruck, for example, I have I put in every single door with sticky tape and then the Velcro on the other side, the little hammers for the windows because the doors do get stuck, and so. Yeah, this is not a surprise for me. Buying glass breakers in case they need to escape. Yeah. Ride shares are showing where to find the manual door releases. Okay. Emergency pull cords and other accessories. Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, that doesn't surprise me. Okay. Because, I do it. So, I think that's a reasonable thing. Okay, let's see. Rise of zombie loans. What do we got here? How shiny viral Hulken bag became a $50 million brand. That bag? It doesn't look that good. Fly fishing brand? Don't care. Okay. Cool. What is this? Zombies. The rise of the zombie loans. Tesla should be required to have these in the back. I agree. Oh, nice. Look at that bullish move off of 607. That's fantastic. So the question now is, can we get all the way up to 617? Wow. Look at that. Bullish.
Bullish catalyst.
All right. So let's go into here. Obvious source of money is the duplex in Hollywood. Appreciate it. Blah, blah, blah. Taking a loan, however. Shocked to find a lien on his house for a second mortgage he's taken out 20 years earlier. Debt collector was looking for $75K. Couldn't believe it. Blindsided by a zombie second mortgage. These loans were taken out before the 2008 housing collapse and lay dormant for years. Wow. Debt buyers bought them for pennies on the dollar and later shocked homeowners with huge bills, inflated by years of back interest. Wow. As the housing market recovered, these loans became valuable again, setting ticking financial time bombs for homeowners across the country. Zombie seconds. Wow, that sucks. Yeah. Extend and pretend. It was a form of extend and pretend. Yep. Ah, look at this. In 2023, federal regulators had begun investigating companies involved in zombie mortgages for alleged violations. But those efforts stalled when the Trump administration gutted the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. Oopsies. Wow. All right. So let's see what the journal has for us today. Jetway Jesus? What's Jetway Jesus? Travelers bemoan a rise of able-bodied passengers who game the system to skip the line. Ask a gate attendant why. There were 24 wheelchair passengers 25 holding up boarding. There were no delays when Gomez's flight landed. Most of the passengers stood up without assistance and bound off towards baggage claim. Social media has credited a divine intervention for this return to mobility. The Jetway Jesus is curing these passengers by the time they land. And the remarkable recovery has been dubbed a miracle flight. Flight attendant explained that many able-bodied passengers request wheelchairs for the VIP experience, an escort down the jetway that lets them skip the lines and give them first crack at overhead space. Once they realize at the end of the flight that they have to wait for assistance to disembark, the healing begins. This is the funniest thing ever. There's typically no request for proof of disabilities. Passengers just need to fill out a quick form and off they roll. Sometimes there are up to 50 wheelchairs boarding a plane on a plane that seats 130 passengers. But some people are unafraid to get ahead. They boast about how they found the ultimate travel hack. Bring your grandpa to skip the lines. The Jetway Jesus ruse isn't going over well with other travelers. Oh my lord. Wow, dude, look at that. Look at the line for all these wheelchair people. Oh gosh. That's crazy. Jetway Jesus. That's priceless. It's a miracle. Oh man, that's like the funniest thing I think I've ever read in the Wall Street Journal. Oh, I gotta see the comment section on this. This nonsense would end overnight if they boarded wheelchairs last. Yup. Yeah. Just like emotional support dogs. The loophole needs to be shut down. Same thing as parking and handicap parking when you're not. Airline policies must change so that if you request wheelchair assistance aboard, you must use it to disembark. Request will plummet. I mean, there's no way you're going to force people to use a wheelchair on the way out. You just have to kill it on the way in. I like the idea of you board last. That would kill it. That'd definitely kill it fast. But anyway, okay, good. I mean, even scams are bouncing today. So, you know, here's Alt 5. Nice little bounce today. Oh, good recovery on IREN. That's good. Nice. And then NBIS. Oh, NBIS at my test line. And CoreWeave. This is good. This is good. Somebody says, what's your bet for new Waller? Yeah, it's going to be Waller, I think. Kevin, sitting at 2.65. In your experience, best way to tap into equity. No hurry, no debt. Well, I mean, I would consider... you know, home equity lines of credit, like if you could get a second, which that is generally what a HELOC is. And you don't have to use it, right? But I would be open to establishing a HELOC right now. You know, if I was sitting on a crap load of equity, I'd be open to establishing a home equity line of credit, have the line of credit there, so if crap hits the fan, you could quickly borrow on the line and have access to a lot of capital quickly to, you know, whatever. You know, take advantage of an opportunity or something. It's easier to establish that line up front, and then obviously, you know, then you just have to monitor to see when the banks start trying to freeze the stuff. Sometimes they do. They did in 2008, but a lot of people were able to get their money out of credit lines before they got frozen. So it's just a matter of playing the game. You know, it's a game. Let's see here. Let's see here. Okay. CPI, Jetway Jesus, let AI run our we let AI run our office vending machine? What? We let AI run our office vending machine. It lost hundreds of dollars. A snack operation in the Wall Street Journal newsroom. The vending machine operator. Generosity, persistence, and total disregard for profit margins. Those are the skills. Trash Claude's resume in the trash immediately. Agreed to an experiment. Anthropic had tested a vending machine powered by Claude. We'd be the first outsiders to try it. It would run ordering inventory, setting prices, and responding to customers. Via workplace app, chat app, Slack. Then came chaos. Within 5 days, Claudus has given away nearly all of its inventory for free, including a PlayStation 5 it had been talked into buying for marketing purposes. It ordered live fish. It offered to buy stun guns, pepper spray, cigarettes, and underwear. Profits collapsed. Newsroom morale soared. What is going on at the Wall Street Journal today? This is 2 in a row. This is good. Anything to distract from CPI, huh? Wow. Okay. Yep, there it is. Okay. All right. Trump family business empire is growing. Iran hacks former Israeli prime minister. A new cyber attack. Okay. Sounds like an episode of Silicon Valley. Yes, seriously. Iranian-linked hacker group leaked sensitive personal data belonging to former prime minister, a former PM of Israel. Hacking group said it breached the phone and published hundreds of his chat messages and a 141-page contact list, including several world leaders. Said his Telegram account had been hacked. and contents from his contact list, phone, and chats, both authentic and forged, were released. Right. Denied that the phone itself has been hacked. Oh, yeah. Okay. So people got into his Telegram account. Okay. Got it. Alright, Journal. What else? U.S. accepts fault for Reagan. This was terrible with the helicopter. U.S. government accepted fault. Justice Department filing in response to a lawsuit. Systemic failures. Army Black Hawk failed to maintain vigilance. Yeah. That's sad. Yeah, that was this. Ugh. That was sad. Why Jared Kushner? Wait, what's over here? Plan to build Trump hotel failed in Serbia. Whatever. Okay, let's go. Nosebleeds. Okay. Let's go jump into the information. So, what's the point of... Oh, Kevin, would you be good with Myron as pet chair? Yes. Yeah, I've actually, like, if you follow me on X, see, the thing is, like, I literally tweeted that. Like, I said it, that was a picture of me and my black X. Where was it? Somewhere around here. Just make Myron Fed chair. See, look at that. Wow. It's already been said. Your HELOC comment got me thinking, should I do a cash out refinance and get a HELOC now, or should I wait 6 to 7 months to see how far rates drop? Well, unless the economy falls off a cliff. See, here's the problem, right? If you wait 6 or 7 months and the economy falls off a cliff, you might not be able to get a loan because the bank seize up, right? That's why there's a benefit. You pay $100 and get a HELOC now. Well, and it's a variable loan. You know, don't refinance your first in that case. Just get a HELOC, right, as a rider. Doing a refinance now means you're paying all that debt now at the higher interest rates. I don't know. Like, I feel like the HELOC gives you all the optionality in the world because, you know, if you don't need it, you don't pay the interest on it. You pay like $100 a year just to have it. You know, who cares? $100 is like one cheesecake dinner for one person these days. It's crazy. Okay, maybe two. But anyway. All right, OpenAI discussed raising... Yeah, let me just see if there are any details in this, because OpenAI's chat problem act more like planes than helicopters. Let's see. For years, air taxi startups have flaunted prototypes, futuristic aircraft that fly like helicopters, blah, 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 blah. On Wednesday, the Department of Transportation released a national strategy for the commercial air taxi industry, including guidelines for how they should operate. Air traffic startups must submit applications to a federal program that will permit a few hundred of them to begin commercial operations in June. Oh, now that is bullish on the air taxi plays. You know, Archer or Joby. Duffy announced a new pilot program to accelerate air mobility vehicles. The pilot program, known as eVTOL pilot program, eVTOL PP, will form a public-private partnership. Pilot program will give us another opportunity to accelerate safe eVTOL. Blah, blah, blah. Okay. White House support for these planes is an attempt to compete with China. Relatively few are likely to experience the vertical takeoff like a helicopter. This This reflects the difficulty of most startups are having in finalizing their aircraft and getting certified. Right. So you'll just go on a runway. But that's a problem. You know, that kind of kills the idea, at least in some point, because some of the idea of the eVTOL is that you could land in more areas, right? If we're killing the vertical component, you need a runway. You know, that's the whole point of the vertical. So, but it sounds like they're struggling with that. Maybe that's why they only show them flying and not actually taking off. Land like an eVTOL on a conventional landing gear. Joby says it will fly conventionally if safety requires it. Right. So you're just a plane at that point. Huh. Beta flew during the air show, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, that's interesting, because if you're just really a small plane developer, does it kill your ability largely shuttling between airports? Flying conventionally is limited to the use of using electric planes, which have a range of 50 miles. Largely shuttling between airports to and from conventional helipads, like hospital grounds. Yeah, but I don't know that these eVTOLs, if they can't transition to do the vertical part, then you're screwed. Blade Mobility, which came with Joby in August, the startup acquired Blade, which came with heliport infrastructure in New York. Oh, that's smart. Okay. To be able to fly conventionally using... Okay. Yes, okay, I mean, I guess maybe the goal at the end of the day is we're taking off from rooftops. That probably won't happen until 2030. I don't know. I'm not that excited about that. If they're just going to commercially license these puppies as planes, and then you have to go airport to airport, it's not actually that fun. Like, I'd rather... You know, at that point, you may as well just buy Cirrus Aviation, because then you can put gas in the damn car, plane, and actually go fly, for 2 hours or whatever, as opposed to 30 minutes or whatever. So, I don't know, that's kind of interesting to me. All right, so Qs were able to push, which is good. I can't get the buys at Oracle. I lost the line at CoreWeave. Tesla is recovering some of its pain from yesterday. Yesterday was obviously a big drop for Tesla. I've got Trade Desk can't hold it up. Dave & Buster's flat. Enphase is having a day. Nvidia's back to 175. Google's stuck at 303. If anybody's hungry, Wingstop's up. Axon up. Ubiquity up. Meta up. Path, Intuit. All these guys are like 1% to 2% over here. It's an interesting little bucket. Hood, I mean, a lot of green. A lot of green today. Makes sense after the crazy sell-off yesterday. How is Cirrus doing? So here's your day chart on Cirrus. Problem is, you know, you're exposed to the Hong Kong exchange to be able to buy this. So, you see a lot of China and tariff risks. Okay, all right, I personally am not very excited about this. I thought I was going to be more excited about this. This is kind of disappointing. Yeah. All right. Good. So, OpenAI has discussed raising tens of billions of dollars valuation at 750. Preliminary discussion from some investors about raising a $750 billion valuation. They want to raise as much as $100 billion, and it's early talk, not finalized. If they get this money, it's very bullish. Like, if some people are dumb enough to give them this money, this would be very bullish. If OpenAI gets this money. Very bullish. Okay. So you want to watch that. What's all this F-Jet talk? F-Jet? Who's F-Jet? F-Jet. Starfighters space on the American exchange. So is this like a penny stock that's memeing or something like that? Did this just go public as a penny stock? Okay. So what is this? Starfighters F-Jet. No. Search for what I want, please. Starfighter Space. Oh, they're going public today. Through on the American exchange. Okay. So what is this? NYSE American operates an active fleet of F-104 Starfighters, only commercial company in the world to fly at Mach 2 while launching payloads into space. Oh, yeah, okay. That, I mean, just talk dirty to us. Like, this is exactly what every dude wants to hear. Bro, Mach 2 and payloads into space? Say no more. Let's go look at their filings. So, we need to get an S1 for this puppy. 1U. Oh, it's a Reg A. They did a Reg A fundraise. That's like what House Hack does. See, Regulation 1A. Well, see, so wait, they're going from 1A to IPO. Oh, shoot. That's awesome. Good for them. I mean, House Hack could do that too. It's actually one of the easier ways to go public is you just go from Regulation A to public. So, totally possible. That's why they're going on the American exchange. Okay. Okay. Very interesting. I don't think I've actually seen a Reg A fundraise company do it before. At least not recently. So, let's go see. That's very cool. Regulation A. That's awesome. It's like so House Hack. Which, by the way, we raised I think $350,000 to $400,000, something like that, just yesterday. Just yesterday. So, okay, this is gonna make a space. What is this thing called? Space Fighters stock? I don't know. Let's just go look at it really quickly. Yeah, the latest raise, we're raising at our August of 24 valuation. So it's, I can't guarantee it, obviously. I think that's a low valuation because we got that valuation at $1.40 a share on the low end, right? Well, it's 1.4 times book to 2 times book was the range. And so, that was before we had any AI, and that's when the company was EPS negative. So that's why I think, now the company's EPS positive. Now we've got the AI SaaS. I'm like, let's close the fundraise and get a new valuation. And I don't know what it's going to be. Maybe the new valuation won't move at all. I don't know. It could also be up. But I think fundraising at this August 24 valuation, it's old. It's like a really stale value. Which is good for people now, I think, because if you're investing now, you're locking in that August of 24 value, right? But anyway, let's go look at this company. So what is this? So this is do they have any income, these people? I don't think they have income. They have no income. So they're pre-revenue. Oh, well, that's a bummer. So we're pre-revenue company. Pre-revenue company. That's awesome for House Hack. You're doing a good job. Oh, well, thank you. Should I put my 3K in House? Well, you can't put 3K in House Hack because it's 20K minimum. Wow. Okay, maybe I want to take your 3K. Hold on. I'm going to show you why I just said that. Are you freaking kidding me? That's crazy. This is apparently our fundraising over the last week. And the reason I'm saying maybe we should take your 3K is look at this number. That's insane. This, apparently, I'm being told right now, this is our fundraise since we announced the closing of our fundraise. That's crazy. That's $2 million in less than a week. That's crazy. All right. What's crazy is, like, I remember when, when it came time to sell the bird, there was some thought. I'm like, oh, like, are people going to think that's like bad? And then I'm like, whatever, it is what it is. Let's just talk about it transparently. And I actually think people are really excited. And people are like, no, Kevin, this is great. We know you were paying for the bird, but all the risk of the bird is gone, of Kevin flying. And so I actually think people are investing more after that, which is great. Very interesting. So this appears to be a pre-revenue company. Advertising and promotion is 97. What are they advertising? Business development. What is this? Contract labor and fuel. That sounds like it's to fly. To fly. These are a lot of expenses. So I've blown $3.6 million in expenses. My expenses are rising. But what do they do? Starfighters International has been unable to view the F-4 Phantom aircraft originally contemplated to be acquired from the Republic of South Korea in the Air Force. Neither Aerovision nor Starfighters International have been able to confirm the continued availability of such aircraft. So maybe it doesn't exist. Oh my Lord. Somebody says, even the hater will say, don't bet against Kevin on real estate. Oh, thank you for that. Appreciate that. That's really nice of you, Max. So, that's cool. How much to invest in house hack to get a board seat? I've never been asked that question before. Maybe we need, where's Tom in the chat? We need Tom from MySpace. Anyway, Tom from MySpace comes back. I honestly, I think like Tom from MySpace is probably living his best life, got plenty of money from no stress from selling. He's everybody's friend, like talk about exiting the top. Good for him. Anyway, so on October 23, 24, okay, so I guess I don't understand. This looks like it's a pre-revenue company, but I'm a little concerned because Tom from MySpace, you called? What's up? I'm a little concerned because I don't really, they have no revenue. I feel like I worry that this is a cash grab of selling an idea, right? Operates the world's only fleet of flight-ready F-104 Lockheed planes. Okay, so they operate these planes. They don't make them. They operate F-104s. They don't make them. So they're branding Lockheed's plane in their cash out, right? Single engine interceptor was favored for maximum altitude and climb performance. Reach over Mach 2 and sustained level flight. Okay. Yeah, but the problem is these people, they don't do anything. They have a hangar lease. The lease for the hangar is $18,000. Dude, okay, I paid $4,000 a month, roughly. I paid about $4K a month for my hangar. You guys supposedly have a fleet. And you're paying 4x, 4 times more. That's it? 4 times more than me? And I had one small PP? This sounds like a scam. So he says the F-104 is very old. That wouldn't surprise me either, that they bought a bunch of old-ass 70s planes. I don't know that, to be sure. Developed in the early 1960s. Oh my gosh. Dude, the maintenance on this is gonna suck. Yeah, they got retired. So these are retired aircraft, first flown in the 50s. In 1975, it was revealed Lockheed had bribed many foreign political figures to secure purchases. Starfighter had a poor safety record, especially in the Luftwaffe. The Germans lost 292 of 916 aircraft. Wow. They called it the Widowmaker. No way. Oh my gosh. I mean, they had a loss rate of 916. 31.8% loss rate, you know, per the wiki. Per quick wiki, these are 1960s planes that sucked so badly, Lockheed had to bribe people to buy them. German military, German Air Force, lost, lost 31.8% of them. Plane was called the Widowmaker. So my guess, this company has a tiny fleet of planes in Texas. They have no revenue. Operating old planes is deadly expensive and doesn't last long. So, you know, like, where's my Hobbesian? Hobbes would say, nasty, brutish, and short. Right? Like, this doesn't sound good. Okay. Yeah, this sounds like a ripoff. What's their balance sheet look like? Definitive agreement. What is this? Additional agreed to require some planes, but these planes they're trying to acquire from South Korea, this isn't even working. Amendment. Like, they don't even think they're gonna get the plane. Is that the only plane they're getting? Like, what's on their balance sheet? This is a cash out. That's what this is. I think this could be a full scam. Where's their balance sheet? Here we go. Okay, so the company has $3.7 million of cash, 1.3. So they have less money than House Hack. So 3.763 plus 1.35. I've got 5.1 liquid. And then I've got current bills to pay. Oh my lord. What? Some of those are convertible, so these will get paid off by conversion, deferred income. But what is this, all this derivative liability here? I mean, even if I got rid of these two, I still have a bunch of notes, like a bunch of bills to pay here. Fortunately, I don't have not a lot of long-term debt. No long-term debt, actually, other than their lease. So I'm gonna call it no long-term debt outside of lease. But there's no income. So they just purely lose money. They are located in Cape Canaveral, Florida. That's the perfect sex appeal. A fleet of 7 F-104s. Launch waivers to license its first space launch. To launch rockets carrying payloads. Wait, so you're, like, forgive me, a random company that bought 7 old 1970s planes is now going to launch rockets to space. What with this balance sheet? No way, bro. With 5 mil in cash and 16 mil in current liabilities. GTFO. This is a cash out for insiders, or they're it's probably an or they're hoping for a meme run in the stock to finance a non-existent enterprise. So, like, either way you look at it, I think it's a scam. If it's a cash out, it's a scam. If it's a meme play, it's an insider scam, right? So I don't like this at all. Like, this is a joke. I don't like it. I don't like it one bit. Okay, good. Queues keep moving. Very nice. Very nice. Good. Good recovery right off the 607. I like it. All right. So let's see here. Okay. Well, that was a fun little tangent. Then let's see here. 10-2 spreads at 66. WAPO. Inflation, we talked about inflation. Steve Miller, Trump Media, crypto company, okay. Up close and fast, U.S. and Chinese space dogfight in space. Oh, that's awesome. The American Patrol satellite had targets in sight. 2 recently launched Chinese spacecraft. Wow. This is like the Top Gun of spacecraft. Oh, let's see here. Satellite. 2 Chinese satellites. U.S. satellite from the Pentagon approaches behind. Chinese satellites split apart to make it harder to watch them. The Chinese maneuvered behind the U.S., putting the sun at its back. Even 10 miles is considered uncomfortable, given that satellites can travel 5 miles per second. That's kind of awesome. Yeah, I think you're going to see more and more of this. Wow. All right, what else do we have here? FT. So we saw the inflation talk. Inside the industrial scale pardon machine. Well, pay money to Trump and you'll get pardoned for whatever fraud. Let's see here. Putin retaliation. Putin's pissed. He don't like the Europeans. It's a way to suck up to the to Trump, basically. ECB holds rates at 2. Okay. Yeah, this is the sign of a bubble right here. When you leave your job at Meta and you can instantly create a startup for $3 billion. That's the sign of a bubble. That's what I'm saying. Like, literally, this guy's like, oh, I'm going to leave Meta and create a company. I don't even know what I'm going to do yet. And we're going to raise at a $3 billion valuation. You know, that's where I look at, like, what's House Act? Like 140 or something like that, right? And maybe like 120. I don't know, something like that. And like, we actually have an AI product. And these people, this is when you have a bubble, in my opinion. 3 billion euros before it has even launched. Yep. Details of the new venture called Advanced Machine Labs will be announced in January. Yeah, details will be announced because they don't even know what they're doing yet. It's crazy. Vibe funding. That's actually a good line. Vibe funding. We're handing out multi-billion-dollar valuations for mere names and ideas. It's actually not idea. It's just name. Vibe funding. That's hilarious. Okay. Trump officials announced more than $11 billion in arms sales. For Taiwan, China is feeling a sense of an American... Beijing is projecting power and showing off prowess building infrastructure amid what it says is a deep anxiety in U.S. policies. Okay. Where's the news today? Let's see here. Dawn's best friend, how Epstein and Trump bonded over the pursuit of women. It's all fake news. Okay. All right. What else? Trump defense bill, fine. Not much today. Honestly, we are kind of catalyst light until the beginning of January, which is good. That's a crazy picture. Okay. Treating on EVs. All right, let's go see what the institutions have for us. So, the institutions. So if I jump into our sheets here, let's see what they are saying. 2025. Uh-oh. Reports of a crash involving a private jet with no survivors in North Carolina. Well, that's not good. Okay. Let's go take a quick peek at that. North Carolina crash. Oh, that's by the airport. Oh. That doesn't look good. It's rain and overcast. Quite overcast. Actually, it looks foggy. Look how foggy it looks. You can see the fade of the haze in the trees over there. Would you stall out on your turn to final? This photo was sent to WBTV. We can confirm there was an aircraft incident. Oh, no. Yeah, look at that. Oh, man. That's terrible. I wonder if there's a tail number. Let's see here. No. Okay. Statesville Regional updates. So, no additional details yet. Yeah. Business jet crashes while landing. Okay, so it's coming into land. A Citation business jet. A witness from the nearby Lakewood Golf Club said the plane was way too low before it crashed. There was fog. Well, obviously fog played a weather. Yeah, they were sending their helicopter to the scene, but had to turn around due to the weather. Trump administration moves to remove gender dysphoria as a disability status. All right. I guess that's our news for today. All right, let's go see what else is being said here. All right, let's go look for the caddies. The caddies. So, let's see. What is this? This is the red thread. UBS Asset Management. And is there anything useful here? The Great Portfolio Reset. Private Capital Revolution. Influx of capital has allowed companies to stay private for longer. It'll be interesting. All right, we'll look at that in just a sec. And then TS Lomb. The 2026 consensus is wrong and another Fed conspiracy. Let's go take a look at some of these. Open. Oh. There we go. Open. All right, I got it all. Okay. So, all right. So, entirely predictable. The Fed's decision to start expanding its balance sheet has the tinfoil hat brigade out in force. Social media is full of stories of stealth QE. Yeah, they're printing again. Let's clear up some myths. Fed's been doing QT. Market didn't collapse. Tension started to rise in the bond market or the funding market. Fed is now buying treasury bills. This is true. We've got TOMO and POMO. And then of course the Fed will do anything to argue that this is not QE. Any central bank would do the same thing, of course. We're not saying it's wrong what they're doing. We're just saying it's bullish what they're doing. So I don't think this matters. Okay, what do we have here? 2020, the consensus, 26 will be like 25. Stable growth, a little bit of disinflation, and monetary policy going to neutral. Where could the consensus be wrong? Our bet is on a stronger rebound to activity, which stokes inflation and starts a debate about monetary tightening, something nobody's talking about today. So, Tom says, I think people want more insight on house hack. We need more fundraising. Yeah. Okay. Cool. So, let's keep going here. So this is bullish. So they say, okay, by the way, we're doing a little test. If you have the Meet Kevin membership, if you can, try to post something in the community tab if you don't mind. I'm going to try to do a little stress test there. And let's see. UWMC has acquired, isn't it? UWMC has mentioned that they're acquiring something. All right, well, I'll contribute to the stress test by replying. So yeah, open to the community tab if you can. Post a question or idea. Maybe I can answer it here on the live. I'll check it out. So UWMC, because we moved to our own servers on the community tab. But anyway, let's go to UWMC acquisition. Okay, here we go. Announced 2. Okay, so Two Harbors Investment Company, 2. Mortgage Servicing Right REIT. Aha. Definitive merger will acquire all in an all-stock transaction. Yeah, okay, so here's the thing. When companies get mortgage servicing rights, they have built-in opportunities for refinancing by advertising to them. Significant recurring revenue opportunity of nearly doubling the MSR portfolio. I think what you really get is an advertising bucket. So I'm going to write that in our community reply here. So this is like our little community tab. It's basically, we have like it's like a custom Discord just for course members. We just kind of started building it out. What is this? Sounds like a marketing play by acquiring you're doubling their mortgage servicing rights. Think about that as getting a mortgage statement from UWMC now, which they then inject their refinance branding on. They're setting up for the refi boom. You know, that's what I believe that. I think, that's exactly what's going on. Is these companies are getting ready for a giant refinance boom. And I actually totally agree with it. That's why I think you just slowly increase exposure, slowly increase exposure to some of these mortgage companies, just in case, rates fall really, really quickly. Matt the mortgage guy spawns in out of nowhere. UWM is buying a big servicing book. Will double the amount of servicing they do. Yeah. 700,000 consumers to market to. Exactly. Yeah. I mean, it's because every statement you get, there's going to be a big thing like, want a lower rate, want to refinance? And think about it. They know their credit scores. They know the customer's credit scores. They know the customer's payment history. They know the debt the customer has. They know the interest rate the customer has. You get so much data with an MSR book, a mortgage servicing rights book, that it's like shooting fish in a barrel, right? Best part is they'll send all this business to brokers. They don't have a retail division. Also true. So let's see here. Let's go to Okay, let's, oh yeah, we were going through those institutional pieces. But I also want to see if, is there anything else on this yet? I'd really like to see the tail number on this so we can nobody has it yet. Let's go to latest. No. Yeah, that's a bummer. So we'll keep an eye on this, see if we can get a any kind of tail number. Maybe Osnet has on his post. Some people replying maybe with a tail. I'll just say, anyone have a tail? All right. Well, we'll see. All right. So let's go back here. Uh, 26 will be a rerun of 25 without the volatility. Growth will remain steady. They're very bullish. Would SoFi benefit from the refi boom? Sure. I mean, you're asking like two, like this is a big ask, okay? I'm not going to go into Upstart right now. We've done an Upstart analysis before. Upstart's like a nice referral business for lenders, but yeah, I mean, SoFi, as long as there's no recession, SoFi can keep raising money and lending it. And they are actually they're like babies in the mortgage space because they're mostly personal loan lending, which actually I think gives them great upside to expand into the mortgage space. Near term, the labor market looks wobbly and there's always a risk the AI bubble bursts. So basically, they're acknowledging the labor recession risk and AI bubble burst, but they stay bullish. And think inflation will be a bigger risk. Okay, I mean, I think that's Looney Tunes, but okay. Sell side, expect nothing interesting to happen. The economy will continue to grow. Central banks around the world, equilibrium levels, K-shaped economy, weakness at the bottom and strength at the top. As big tech keeps going on AI, high-income households keep spending. Oh, here we go. Cessna 550. Got it. Okay. Hold on. 6 occupants on board. 5 fatalities confirmed. Well, that only means they have 5 bodies. I hate to say it. N257BW. Let's look at this puppy. Man, this is terrible. I hate this stuff. Plane crashes. The weather is the worst. It's a 1981 plane. Let's see if we can find any inside images of it, because if it's possible they just don't have updated avionics on the inside. And oh, here it is for sale. Oh, this is it. This is it. This is the bird. No, look at those avionics. Oh no, a 6-pack avionics. No, no. Damn. Yeah, that's a great way to get disoriented. Fantastic way to get disoriented. I really hate saying that. But I will tell you, I don't know how to fly on a 6-pack because I refuse to learn on it. I'm like, I'm not flying an aircraft that could get me killed with that. So let me see here. Oh, here we go. Beam these over and I'll show you. But that sucks, man. Cessna citation. So was this a An operator? Yeah, here's the flight path. So where'd they come from? They came from... Well, that's 26-minute travel time. Why? They full U-turn. Did they have a problem? This indicates they intended to go somewhere but didn't go anywhere. Hold on. Oh, that's not good. Oh no, they got disoriented on their takeoff. Oh, I'll explain this. We don't know with certainty, but this is gonna be my guess. I want to show you, let me show you, just so you know the difference, by the way, in the avionics here. So look at here. Okay. Imagine you're flying in the weather and you're needing to communicate with air traffic control while you're taking off from an airport in the fog. You're going into the clouds, and those are your instruments, okay? Now I want you to compare to the instruments that I was using. It's a little different. It's a little different. This is, by the way, a stall right here. I love showing the stalls. The stalls are fun. Hold on a sec. Let's see here. Here we go. Then you guys can actually hear it. So you'll be able to hear the stall lady. And
Stall.
you can see our bank and watch it tank when the pusher fires. But like, how much easier it is to stay straight and level when you have a big glass screen like this in front of you, and your backup screen on the other side, or even the middle, right? Yeah, that's at like 6,900 feet. So, that's a big difference. Okay, this is the takeoff. It looks to me like they took off. So we have a takeoff, we have a turn. This doesn't look like, okay, so we're gonna overfly the heading, and then we have a sudden turn here. Why? What happened? So I have a 262, I'm climbing. I'm holding 15 here, that's fine. They might have hit weather here. Why did they drop here? In their turn, they drop. What's the ATIS out here? Statsville. So, let's see here. Let's see. I've never used this website before. What is this? Runway, groove, fine. Where's the weather? Additional remarks, instrument procedures. Then I'll show the weather on here somewhere. I mean, we could see what the weather is. Physically, it's crap. I'm not gonna do that. All right. So, was this privately owned? This was part Pratt & Whitney. Doesn't say. Fractional owner, no. LLC registration. Aviation Leasing Inc. Who's this? North Carolina, owns and manages Broader Aviation Services. Okay, so somebody bought it. Do we have any more registration data? 91. No. Interesting. I don't actually get a lot of info on it, if this is the right tail number, which I think it is. Because this, you know, the flight path here is pretty obvious. So look at this. So here, what happened? Look how slow we get here. Why are we getting so freaking slow? Wow. What's the airfield height? So, Statsville Regional Airport height. 1,000 feet. Yeah. So that's when they hit the ground. What the hell, dude? Why? They stalled out, man. 1,900 feet. Yeah, really, right here. And the speed plummets. That's a fast plummet of the speed, too. But you're dropping speed. I feel like you should be speeding up if you're going to plummet to the ground. Unless they're in like a turn. Right? Just like a really slow fall out of the sky is what this seems like. And then you hit the ground. I think this was disorientation. That's crazy, man. Yeah, look at that. Play. That was the path it was supposed to go on, but never did. Speed. Can't you just like 1x the speed? That's terrible. Yeah, they got disoriented. Like, oh, we're on the wrong heading. I don't even know if they have an autopilot in this. That could have been part of this as well. Let's see if it has an autopilot. I mean, I can't even read this crap. This is all like a system I'm not familiar with at all. But let's see what it says. Avionics. Okay. I don't see any talk about autopilot. $12,000 hours. Garmin 750. Please call today on a 135 certificate. Okay. Is this single? This could be a single pilot plane. And then, I mean, I have my suspicions of exactly what happened here. Obviously, we won't know for a long time. But this single pilot. Yes, it can be flown single pilot. Okay. So, am I still flying? No. Wind? I don't think so with the fog that I'm seeing in those images. Yeah. Okay. All right. So, I want to do a quick review of that, and then we'll get back to the sticks here, which are doing just fine. I do want to talk about the inflation report and such. So, okay. Give me a sec here. And then let me see if there are any new pictures of this, and then we'll get back to the goodies. Owned by NASCAR driver Greg Biffle. Was Greg Biffle a pilot? Nicknamed the Biff? He's a pilot. No. He did helicopter rescue missions, relief efforts. Yeah. He is a jet pilot. No word yet on the occupants, so we don't know. There will be a press conference. Okay. Wow, that's terrible. Wow. Okay. Well, let's talk about it. All right. So... Well, just moments ago, we heard of another devastating plane crash. This, apparently a Cessna 550 Citation II, potentially operated, we don't know, by a single pilot with 6 occupants on board. 5 fatalities have been confirmed so far. This is tail number November 257 Bravo Whiskey. There are some reports, we don't know this, but some reports that people are linking the ownership of the aircraft to the NASCAR driver Greg Biffle, also known as Biff. And what we did is we took this tail number A lot of this remains unconfirmed at this point, but we took the tail number and we looked up the aircraft and we looked up the flight path so we could try to understand what's going on, as well as aligning the weather at the airport at the time. So now I have a lot of experience flying a jet with a full Garmin 3000 suite, which I'll show you in just a moment. I've never flown with a 6-pack like I'll show you in the listing for this. Personally, I find that these sort of avionics are very difficult to fly with in the weather. I find it remarkable that people can do this very, very well. But if these are the current avionics, and the aircraft did end up flying in what appears to be this thick fog, I think there could be a contribution to, this is full speculation at this point, but a contribution of maybe a lack of autopilot, an overwhelmed departure into the fog, into this weather right here, which may have been even worse at the time of the takeoff, and spatial disorientation. Why we could say that is take a look at this path right here, this flight path. So what appears to be, or what we appear to have, is a takeoff at 10:06 a.m. from the Statesville, North Carolina Regional Airport. This airport has a field elevation of about 1,000 feet. Given the fog at the time, I don't suspect it was windy at the time. So I don't, and really for a Cessna Citation 2, I don't think this would be much of an issue. Any kind of whether crosswind or tailwind or any kind of wind issue, I don't think would be an issue here. But we've seen this happen off the coast of San Diego as well, where pilots will take off into this kind of weather. And the worst moment is the moment of takeoff. You rotate, and a lot happens, especially when you're a single pilot. This is the hardest part. So imagine this. You go to take off and you rotate into the weather. And what happens after you rotate into the weather, here's just an example, obviously not into the weather, but what happens is as you're rotating into the weather, you're going to be given an altitude, potentially an initial climb altitude of 1,500 or 2,000. You're going to get talked to a lot. You've got to change the radio if you've got autopilot. You got to make sure the autopilot's set. You got to make sure your heading is right. There is a lot that happens that's very overwhelming at these phases of flight, and you could really quickly get off course. Because at the same time, you get to, let's say, a 1,500 or 2,000 foot elevation, and you're told to hold at that elevation. Now you got to switch from your regional airport radio frequency over to, your maybe air traffic control departure frequency. So you're switching frequencies. At the same time as you're switching frequencies, you're trying to maintain an altitude. This is hard to do. And at the same time as you're trying to maintain altitude, switching frequencies, especially if you don't have an autopilot, and you're trying to keep your speed up, and you're going into the weather, and you're getting disoriented because you don't have a Garmin flight deck, a lot can go wrong really quickly. So take a look at this. We could see the aircraft climbs from field elevation to 1,800 feet. So it's a climbing left turn, so a climbing turn to the north over here. This is fine. It's actually very normal in a departure to climb and maybe even do an obstacle departure procedure where you're going to climb over the airport and then take off onto your destination, which in this case looked like it was flight planned for Florida. But anyway, we get to 1,800 here. If they were, let's say, given an instruction to hold at 2,000, let's say, maybe thought, oh, I'm approaching 1,800 too quickly, right? Let's slow down a little, or let's level off. There's our level off at 2,000. Let's slow down a little bit. So we see that speed level off, but we're losing that altitude. Now we gas up a little bit because we're starting to get slow and losing altitude. This is all within the first 3 minutes, right? So first minute is taking off. The first 2 minutes, you're fighting to maintain that altitude. You just lost 500 feet of altitude. Why would you lose 500 feet of altitude on takeoff? Well, probably because you just flew into the clouds and you have no visual reference for what's going on. And you're operating on a 6-pack instrument, which is very difficult to do. This is very difficult. That's why I like I said, I refused to fly this and learn on this. I was fortunate to learn on a Cirrus. But I mean, you know, here's us doing stalls over the coast of Santa Barbara on it. And you can see, look how much easier it is. Watch right here on the left, you'll see, you know, we're gonna plummet here in just a moment as we do a pusher stall. But it's so much easier to maintain a level aircraft when you have a giant glass screen in front of you. It's like a video game where you just line up the sticks, right? And so here, you know, we drop, you know, 25 degrees or whatever, and then go to level out and recover from our stall. So this is a lot easier to operate in than this. These appear to be photos of the aircraft. The aircraft has, I believe it was 11,500 hours on it. We'll look in just a moment. This is when it was for sale. It was certified as a 135 operator, 135 certificate, so maintain. It's not uncommon for people to buy these aircraft and then keep them in the 135 leasing cycle, so that way you can offset some of the costs of ownership for the aircraft. You could be, Greg, by the way, was a pilot, or is. We don't know if he was on board the aircraft, right? We don't know. We know he was a helicopter pilot and a jet pilot. This plane is capable of being flown by a single pilot. But what a lot of pilots do is they'll buy an aircraft, get the tax deduction, and then throw it into a leasing business so other people can use it in the meantime. So we don't know who the occupants are of the aircraft. But we do know that as we make this left turn, which as having, you know, as a single pilot, jet rated pilot, I'll tell you, a climbing turn into the fog without autopilot, especially if you're single pilot, we don't know if they're single pilot, would be really disorienting. This is a very, very hard departure. And so I'm not surprised to see this stress in the altitudes right here. We should not be slowing down this much. Slowing down somewhat, staying under 250, totally normal. But we're trying to get somewhere. So if we stay at 225, that would be normal. Level off, stay at 225. To drop 50 miles of speed, knots really is what we'll use, very unusual. To drop this altitude, very unusual. And then what we'll see over here is we get back to climbing, but unfortunately, while we climb here and we get back into our next turn, so we've finished this turn, now we're gonna do our turn back over the airfield. We see the same thing happen again. We speed up, we're holding about 2,000, in this case it's 1,900. We're holding the altitude, but something happens again. For some reason, it seems like we get disoriented again or something. We pull back the throttle a lot, maybe because we're reaching 250. 250 is your ceiling. See how rapidly we're getting to 250 in speed over here? We actually oversped. So we went to 262. We're not legally allowed to cross 250 right now. That is your legal speed limit. So he goes, oh crap, I'm too fast. Pull power. So we pull power. Unfortunately, we pull too much power and we get down to a slow 200 again. And as we get to 200, we start turning. So now we're slow and we're turning, which is gonna slow us down even more. And so I don't know if we just forgot here that the power was out, or who knows, maybe there could have been a mechanical issue, right? But we get into a turn and we forget maybe that the gas is out. And I would suspect right here that this sudden turn, this may have been stall speed right here. This may have been a final stall right here, where all of a sudden we're just way too slow and we essentially fall out of the sky when we're only 250, 400 or 500 feet above the ground, right? So the data ends at about 1,000 feet, which is the ground. That's the ground at this case, is about 1,000 feet. So keep that in mind when you're looking at an aircraft. Look at the stall speed on the Phenom. The stall speed on the Phenom, I think, is a little bit lower. But if we jump over to that video again, and we look at the stall speed here on the Phenom, look at where the Phenom stalls. So we stalled at about 106 here. So they could be at a different configuration depending on where their flaps are. So their stall speed could be very different. But it took us until about 106, 104 here to stall out. But we know we were getting really slow there on that accident aircraft. We don't know why. We don't know who was on board. We just know that for some reason that aircraft got slow. My suspicion, again, is they realized they were going too fast. They broke the speed limit. They pulled back power, forgot to put the power back in. And that's when either we stalled or we just kept going here. You know, because I don't necessarily know that the Citation 2 would have hit stall speed here, but that turn at the end is a little bit indicative of a stall. You know, just a rollover to the left and it's out. This is really unfortunate and really tragic. Obviously, this is all, you know, breaking news information, so there's a limit to how much we can know with certainty what's going on here. If we do a quick refresh of just some images here, we could see this is the latest information on this crash. Tail number, flight made a return to the airport shortly after takeoff. We don't know if that's true. We don't know if that's true. It looks like that in the pattern. But that's not unusual when you're waiting for air traffic to clear you to continue on your path, and it could be a tool to circle. Like, for example, if you depart out of Heber, we don't know. We won't know all the details with certainty. But if you depart out of, let's say, the Heber airport, you're going to do a climb above the airport to get out of there before leaving. So we don't know if this was a return to the airport. I suppose it could have been. But why did we get up to 250 knots then? If we were going to return into the pattern, we wouldn't have climbed all the way to 200, at one point 260 knots in speed. You know, you'd stay at traffic pattern speeds, which would be more like 170 consistent. You know, to go to 260 doesn't really imply to me a return to the airport. But this appears to be footage of the crash. This is very devastating. Yeah, this is really sad. Oh, it looks like, oh, look at this. There's some components on the ground over here, it looks like. I don't know if this is where they hit the ground and that, oh yeah. Oh my gosh, dude. Holy smokes. That's devastating. So it looks like they did eventually hit what looked like the trees and the ground here, potentially with the wing in a stall. And then this is either a cartwheel. It looks like if this was horizontal, we would see more fence damage here. This looks like it cartwheeled. Oh my gosh. Hard to say. Hard to say. Wow. That's devastating. That's really sad. So, here again, footage of what the weather looked like. You could see the sun right here through the fog. Ay, ay, ay. So, here's another image here. Yeah, that's sad. All right, well, we'll have to wait and see what other information comes out of this. Yikes. Okay, all right, let's get back to El Marquette. Somebody writes, why would Israel do this? I know you're being facetious, but I do think that, yeah, that's, you see a lot of that on the internet. Everything's Israel's fault. Anyway, very interesting. What ended up happening here would be, interesting to know. Okay. So let's go to 6 on board is what we're hearing here. All right, so anyway. Q's, nice recovery here. What's this puppy doing? This is gonna start memeing. Oh yeah, look at this. This wants to meme. This is that F-Jet company. And let's listen in over here for a moment. see what they
platform
have.
that is deeply embedded in how its AI is built and run, making NVIDIA the easier default for pretty much anyone building. Now, Reuters first reported, and a source familiar confirms to me, that Google is now trying to fix that with its own initiative, Torch TPU, which is essentially trying to lower the software and engineering barriers that have held adoption back. So this doesn't mean that NVIDIA is about to be displaced, but it does change the stakes. The AI race is not just about peak performance anymore, it's about margins and scale, and that is where the real pressure is starting to build. So there's Google TPUs, but this is part of a bigger trend as well. Amazon is pushing its own custom chips. Meta is looking for ways to lower inference costs. Every hyperscaler, they want more leverage in GPU pricing negotiations. That has long been the case. So even if NVIDIA keeps most of the market here, the pricing environment around AI infrastructure, we could start to see that shift. And the big question for investors is what this chip neutrality means for the AI trade. And that is just simply the idea that companies are less locked into one vendor and they can move workloads to where compute is cheapest or most available, be that a TPU. So in the short term, guys, it creates uncertainty. But here's the thing, in the longer term, it may be what actually makes the build out more sustainable.
Although, Dee, I wonder what you make of the idea that we've seen sort of the logistical gating issues, frictions on the build-out, the financing frictions on the build-out, and now the memory price frictions on the build-out. Those are three big gating issues.
I mean, this has been a supply and demand issue for the past few years, right? There's so much compute that needs to be built out, and NVIDIA GPUs have really been, pretty much the only game in town. So if you're looking at a TPU, get the software piece right, not just the hardware piece. And by the way, this could be true of Google, it could be true of Amazon. That's really been NVIDIA's key moat, is having that CUDA software. So if Google gets close, that would be a huge win, because it would mean that those custom AI chips could work outside of Google Cloud, which has really been the main knock that I hear from folks in the industry. That could really alleviate some of those supply constraints. Of course, Carl, you bring up a good point. Is the demand still going to be there? And that is the trillion-dollar question in all of it.
Multi-trillion-dollar now.
Yeah.
Thank you, Deirdre Bosa. Meanwhile, stocks are going steady here. There's a few reasons for the rally. Certainly Micron saves the day on some of the AI trade and the strong forecast there. Also, Fuel Cell has some of that sort of AI energy complex working as well.
Interesting. Also, a slight little extra note there. The where was it? I just had it here. Okay. Worth noting that right here, let me go to MPH 112. Yeah. Worth noting right here, 129 miles per hour. Usually we're not going to use miles per hour in aviation, but these tracking websites do. So a little confusing here. To clarify, 129 miles per hour is going to bring us down to about 112 knots. That's closer to where we saw that stall speed in the Phenom, which does mean that maybe we didn't necessarily overspeed here, but we came close to it, given this rapid sort of acceleration in speed here, right? So we rapidly move up from 191 miles per hour in this case to 262, and we do pull that power back. Again, we don't know why that power's pulled back. I still think it's because, there's a moment where like, oh crap, we're going too fast, and that power gets pulled back. Again, who knows? Maybe there was an engine failure. That's entirely possible as well. But these aircraft are designed to fly with one engine out. So we'll have to wait and see what the extra details of this one are. All right, let's go back in over here.
Some of the most important names in this theme. It's kind of breathtaking, and I don't even think people realize the extent of it. We're all aware Oracle's in almost a 50% drawdown. I know that's on everyone's minds, but even Broadcom in a 21% drawdown, AMD 19, NVIDIA 17, Meta 16, Microsoft 12, Amazon 12. Like this, for the bubble crowd, for the people who are shouting from the rooftops about how we've all lost our minds again and it's Tulip Mania or it's 1999, very hard to make that case right now. Basically what we've got is big dispersion, Judge, amongst the most important names in the group, and all of them trading on company-specific news. Many of them are only down because they've been up so much. and I would put NVIDIA and Broadcom in that camp. And some of them are down for very specific reasons and real concerns. And the point is, in a true bubble, that's just not the case. In a true bubble, everything goes up every day, all the time, for no apparent reason other than people are chasing. That's just not what's going on here. And
I don't know. I think you could make the argument there are plenty of stocks that are going up like crazy for no apparent reason without, a fundamental basis. I don't know. I don't know what a stock like that could look like. Possibly this. But the bulls will say it's all fundamental. The people who look at fundamentals will say it's not fundamental. All right. So what else? Then let's see if Nick T has done anything else. Let's see here. Nick T. So, Nick T, anything else? No, nothing new on Nick T. Okay, let's try the Doomers for a moment. Let's see what they have for us. Let's go in over here.
We even think of as useful for November. Because data collection started late in November, it's all going to be relatively low quality. The second thing is that the major downside surprise and the major driver of this report is the shelter component. There was a major step down in shelter inflation. The 2-month pace of shelter inflation, so that's from September through October into November, is even less than the typical 1-month pace that we saw before the shutdown. Right. It's a material slowdown. And a big part of that is because October was not reported. So the September number was just pushed into October, and then they looked at the November month-on-month increase and applied that to get the shelter index. So the shelter index right now is artificially low. That's dragging down the year-on-year measure for both the headline and core, and that's going to be a persistent problem for the year-on-year measures for headline and core out until April.
Is that going to be revised then?
It's always tricky when it comes to CPI revisions. You never know what's going to end up coming out of the BLS when they consider the effects of the shutdown and how they want to handle it going forward. But CPI is typically not something that they try to go back and revise because it's used for so many things like indexing contracts and cost of living adjustments.
So we talked to a fund manager on Bloomberg Radio who's saying that this report, at least to him, was fairly useless because there are many categories where they just didn't have the data and they entered as zero. Is this report useful to you in any way?
Well, look, in the broad scheme of things, when we look at the totality of data that we got this week, we saw continuing jobless claims just this morning take a major step up. We saw the unemployment rate take a step up earlier this week, and we see inflation cooling. No matter what you think about the issues with interpolating October shelter inflation, we do know that shelter inflation has been cooling. This was a bit of an overstatement of the degree of cooling during the months of October and November, but we do know that services inflation generally has been cooling. So this report itself does not provide a ton of information value, but it fits squarely within the narrative that we have, which is that the labor market is cooling, price pressures are cooling as well.
All right, Stuart, really appreciate your breaking that down.
Yeah, I actually think this guy did a good job just now breaking that down. The fact that so many data components were missing from the CPI this morning is just, it's a cause for skepticism for sure. I know we're using it to bounce off a 607, which is fantastic. But I am going to be watching the durability of that kind of bounce. So, all right, let's see what else they're saying.
That deserves extra attention in the sense that there were quirks that were just previously mentioned. But I also agree with the comment that this does fit broadly into the narrative and the trends that we've been seeing in the CPI basket coming into the government shutdown. So I think generally this will put more onus on the January CPI report, which is the data we get in the middle of February. Now, January CPI, of course, is usually the largest month-on-month increase in inflation that we get all year. And in the context of what economists are expecting vis-a-vis tariffs, where our economists here at Morgan Stanley are expecting the peak tariff impulse to show up in the first quarter of 2026. I think in that context, it's very important to understand that the January CPI report is now going to be extraordinarily important for the markets. It will be important for the March meeting most directly. But nevertheless, I think if that report also surprises to the downside, like we've seen now for several months in a row when it comes to CPI and PCE inflation, then the tariff narrative, I think, is going to be largely dismissed on a go-forward basis.
Okay, so for those who are not quite sure where the economy is, where it is in its cycle, how did this data point, how did the latest jobs report, and of course the jobless claims that we do get on a more frequent basis, what does it all add up to? Does it give you more conviction on where we are in the economic cycle?
Well, yeah, I mean, I think it certainly is a step in that direction. You know, as the previous commentator mentioned, we are seeing a step down in inflation. We are seeing a continued loosening in the labor market, both of which are gradual in nature, which does give the Fed some confidence that the slow nature of the rate reductions it's been putting into place is appropriate. You know, the Fed also understands that its policy rate is now in the context of neutral, even though it doesn't quite know exactly where neutral is. I think it's fair to say that its policy is still on the north side of where neutral is. And the data that we've gotten over the course of the past month, I think, confirm as much.
The Fed seems to be more concerned about the jobs picture than inflation. Is that where you stand as well?
So I think it's, you know, once we get past the first quarter of next year and we are kind of well past the period of time where an economist would expect tariffs to have an upward impact on inflation, then I think the concern probably shifts a bit more towards the inflation side of the picture. Because again, when you look at what's going on with wage growth in the country, just last week we got the employment cost index, which showed us that wages grew at a 3.5% annual rate. We also know that Chair Powell is very focused on productivity growth. And if productivity is growing at 2% and wages are growing at 3.5%, and labor share of income is roughly stable on a rate of change basis, you know, that gives you a North Star for inflation that is below the 2% inflation target. And I think that's when you start to transition to more concern about just how far inflation is going to fall.
Gotcha. How are you thinking about the rates outlook for 2026? Because what's been curious is that for the last 2 years, we've seen the Federal Reserve cut interest rates, albeit not in a linear fashion. There was this long pause. Yet the 10-year yield during that time is going to end higher than where it was when this rate cut campaign started.
Yeah, when we think about the year ahead outlook, you know, forecasting anything a year out is very challenging. And so we tend to have more confidence naturally in our forecasts out over the course of the next 6 months, as opposed to the 6 months thereafter. And so, you know, we are forecasting the 10-year Treasury yield to continue declining over the next 6 months. We have it in the middle of next year at 3.75%. Now, from there, of course, we have it going back higher. But, you know, we release an outlook document.
Live from Lumbridge. Yeah. Okay. Well, a few things happened this morning. We just covered the business jet crash in North Carolina, which is obviously very early. You know, I always have this downside, unfortunately, of me, like, because I cover things very early, we cover them before we have all of the information sometimes. But that's just the nature of being early on it. But we have our first look over there. I think people have a lot of benefit in waiting often. But I know people like an initial first look. But I've been studying some of this first look here on CPI, just to get back to the CPI information. And what I just put on the stock or the data tab, which remember everybody can get this for free. If you download the Meet Kevin app, it's totally free. You could get these. So this is what it looks like on iPad. You could get it on iPhone or Android, whatever. Just type in Meet Kevin. It's Reinvest with Meet Kevin. And I just put these charts on here because they're very important. And so I'll just use this screen to show it. It's a little easier for me to show. But what's very interesting is that, we basically set housing inflation to 0, which, tanked all of the CPI report. So it's not really a trustable data set. But what is very interesting is we just saw the 3-month seasonally adjusted housing inflation rate plummet, not only below our 2019 average, which is roughly where we were. We just literally plummeted below that average, but also plummeted below the Zillow Family Rent Index, which is very interesting because it really implies that this data was, I hate to say it, but the data was cherry picked. Like look at this. The only data that we got sits on right here. We got gas prices, which we know Trump is daily yapping about how gas prices are coming down, right? So we get gas prices, and then the columns here are September to October and then October, November. Those roughly mute each other out. Then we get no data on anything affected by tariffs. We do get a little bit of a move up here on, let's get rid of some of this old highlighting here. I hate that I have to do this. But anyway, we get some data over here on new vehicles and used cars and trucks. So we get that data. And then we got data on transportation services, but only one part. So we only got leased cars and trucks. The other components were also missing. And then we got, wireless telephone service and postage. But like the amount of data we got here was nothing. So this is really not a data release. This is kind of a joke is what this is. And that's why Nick T is retweeting people saying this is, obscene. Let's see what else we have. We saw the tricolor fraud piece, the zombie mortgages, report distorted by shutdown. So here's the Journal's take on it. I wonder if their editorial board has said anything. Lack of artificial, no. Okay, so nothing here. Somebody says Biffle's entire family was on the plane. No. I'm hearing it was Greg on the plane headed to Florida for an event hosted by his friend, Cletus McFarland. No way. No way, man. That's terrible. Okay, let's go see here. Please look at my previous comments. I don't see your previous comment. Let's go. Okay. Rumors that Biffle's family may have been en route to event in FL. Let me see if I can get extra confirmation on that. Biffle, before I say anything. Oh yeah. Multiple sources now reporting that Greg Biffle, his wife, and children were on the plane. Oh. Rumors that Biffle's family, wife plus children may have been en route to Florida, to an event in Florida. I'm just gonna make a note. Edit. I made this video within 15 minutes of hearing of the news, so stay tuned. things could update and change rapidly. Let me pin and like and heart my own comment. You're supposed to do that, right? Like if you leave a comment, you're supposed to like yourself, right? Because I was always told that you have to like yourself to do well. So, you know, maybe that should be in the daily wealth. I don't know that they were immediately trying to come back. I mean, maybe. They just got really low. Maybe. It's possible that was the turn back. We don't know. But this is a hard environment to immediately come back. I mean, yeah, maybe something went poopy doopy there. Oh man, look at the up close here. Oh wow. Well, that would have been fully fueled too, right? Because they were en route to Florida. So that's crazy. Bro, what is this dump? Oh, are we dumping again? Yeah. Oh. I'm going to have to get another cup of coffee to explain this. I'm going to get another cup of coffee.
Is a bubble or is a boom?
If you go to Mizuho, and Jordan Klein
Got
over
my
there was
same
writing that
shorts
many
on
have got
today.
a little bit nervous about Micron more broadly going into this print. So
Enjoy.
actually maybe there's a bit of short covering, maybe this is needing to make up for what could be yet another power higher in its share prices, even though the market basically braced itself for a Broadcom, for an Oracle. They thought it beat and raised and would still fall. It didn't. But I think many are trying to understand where we are in the AI bubble cycle. This gives us some reprieve. And look, the thing I'm hearing time and time again, Scarlett, on the tech show is investors are being discerning. If you've got too much leverage, if you look like you're overbuilding, you're going to be hit for it. But if you're a company that's thriving and seeing demand outstrip supply, okay, we'll be there for it.
And you get a reaction like you do in Micron right now, up 12%.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Caroline Hyde is a co-host of Bloomberg Tech. And of course, be sure to tune in to her program at 11 a.m. Eastern time. Coming up on Bloomberg Markets, we've got our Muni Moment. And this week, we take a look at how Russell Westbrook and the son of Bill Gross, they're teaming up on $1 billion sports and entertainment project in Oklahoma City. This is Bloomberg.
Yeah. I'm making coffee. Come on. Wanted to comment on
We
something.
are. Yeah. I think we have to because you said you were looking at this name and you were so tempted on this name and you didn't buy this name, but now you did. And it's a gap. It's a gap.
It's the worst kept secret. I've been talking about it for 4 weeks. I can't believe I didn't pull the trigger after the reported earnings.
All right, well, you did now. It's up 16% over the past month. So maybe you needed a little confirmation that something was going on here.
I don't know. I mean, I've owned it in the past, and I sold it because I was up 20%, and I thought that was great. But you know what? The results are just amazing at this company. The CEO is really hitting his stride. Very, very good results in terms of the same-store sales. 5% same-store sales numbers last quarter versus 1% a year ago. That just tells you the product momentum that they're seeing. And they're seeing it from all different cohorts, low, medium, and high. And so I like that very much. Gross margins also have been very impressive, and operating margins were raised as well. So you're looking at a stock trading at 13 times earnings, and I think they're just beginning to see the momentum and the market share that they're taking. We talk about haves and have-nots in retail. This one is now becoming a have because they are getting the traffic and they're actually
You got a denim cycle. The Gen Zs are wearing the baggy jeans. They're a throwback to the mid-90s.
And they're so ugly. But they're working.
Be that as it may,
They're working.
I was in Zara 2 nights ago with my kid who just came home from college.
Yeah.
And I know that's not Gap, but same customer.
Yeah.
I've never seen it. They were hanging from the rafters in this.
Dude, how many times are we gonna try to bounce off 607 today? Like, this is ridiculous. Who's hitting the freaking sell button? All right. So somebody says, "Glad you sold the bird." Yeah, I have no regrets. You know, it served its mission. I'm very grateful. Like, honestly, I feel like tickled pink that I was able to sell it for a profit after, you know, after having the privilege of flying and training in it and using it for house hack. But yeah, man, it's you gotta be flying a lot to stay good at flying. It is like as some people say, it's I guess like golf. I don't know that, but somebody told me it must be like golf. Maybe they're a golfer, so I don't know if it's relative, but I'm like, oh, it's like if you don't do it every week, you're gonna start, like, you don't just plateau, you decay. Why should we be disturbed by this dull consensus? Because year ahead doesn't have a great track record from predicting what the world will be. They often look silly by the end of February. Yeah, I mean, that's fair. Let's see. Liberation Day. Risks. The consensus is underestimating the potential bounce in global growth. I mean, this is true. If we can get hiring up, if hiring jumps, we soft land. Househack is hiring 2 devs, Jan 1, right? We don't want to hire during the holidays. 2 more devs. So, don't use it, you lose it. Yeah, exactly. Good call selling the jet. Yeah. I mean, there are a couple. There's also just like, you kind of look at it as like, in a recession, the value of those things is gonna freaking tank, dude. Oh my! Can you imagine what the value of planes is gonna do in a recession? Oh, it'd be worse than I feel like a zero dated call when the Q's tanks. Okay, maybe not that bad. But anyway. Market gyration, shying away, blah, blah, blah. Okay, I get it. So TS Lombard is bullish. Okay, we get it. I think they've said enough. So, consensus wrong. Fine. What do we have here? Speaking of aviation, 200, what is this? Into the Yonder? What are we talking about here? Infographic? History? Why did they do a story on the history of aviation? I don't want a history lesson. Oh, I had to tell Jack yesterday. Jack was mad at me. He's like, Dad, why do they make us learn history? This is like the stupidest subject. And then I argued, I said, I would actually make the argument that history might be the most important subject. And he's like, what? Why? Let the past be the past. He's 10. And I'm like, history may not repeat, but it often rhymes. And he's just like, huh? So I had to have a whole discussion with him about the point of learning history. So then I got into this thing where I'm like, in 1929 we had this brilliant idea to institute some of the largest tariffs, ever, to basically make America great in 1929, and it turned out instituting the largest tariffs ever was a really bad idea. And then I told him, good thing there's no Great Depression right now. And he's like, yeah, good thing. And I'm like, so anyway, where were we? Let's see here. Okay. Goods diversification means we're adding, what else was this? Delta, what is this? Great portfolio reset. Is there anything interesting here? I don't think there's really interesting. Private credit revolution. Private credit. An influx of private credit has allowed companies to stay private for longer, shifting much of the value creation from the public to private markets. Yeah. Uh, 1980, Trump published. Wow. Yeah, that's actually very interesting. In 1980, there were 4,600 public companies. Today, there are only 3,800 on major U.S. stock market exchanges, a decline of 18%. Companies are choosing to stay private. Companies can scale to billions in revenue while staying private. Wow. Slowdowns in M&A. Secondary markets, continuation funds, vehicles, overall evolution, blah, 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 blah. Okay. AI infrastructure supercycle. Right, talk about debt. Please tell us something about debt or financing. Role of artificial intelligence in investing. Private credit and real estate. Yeah. Oh, look at this. Similar tools to analyze cash flow, supplier relationships, as well as imagery and sensor data. Hell yeah, homie. Basically talking about house hack. Dude, we're so freaking early on real estate AI. I'm so excited about this. Infrastructure, real estate. Blah, blah, blah. Data center, real estate, logistics, fine. Engineering, so okay, I don't think there's really anything interesting in this. Somebody says, BTC hurt my dog. What's wrong with BTC? Show me on the dog where BTC hurt. Oh, wow. Yeah, look at that candlestick. That's weird. Okay. So... Yeah. Does anyone, let me just tweet this really quick. Does anyone have ATC data to indicate, to confirm this? Curious if this was departure, procedure, or return. Let's see. Very sad. This is a radio here. Unconfirmed report. But those are the initial reports that we were hearing from those on the scene. Jeez, man. This is absolutely terrible, you know? Okay. So, going back to this, it looks like we're trying to recover, which is good. Democrats question if Lutnick profits from data centers. You don't have to question that. All right. So when can we get some house high reinvestment merch? Yeah, we really need to have like a merch store or something. Maybe in January. We'll do that in January. We've been like really honestly a little overwhelmed. Like the pressure, the thing is the pressure's really on right now because like a lot of people, like we didn't know, right? We could have launched our real estate SaaS and nobody could have bought it. And now, like, we look at the sales, and we don't even have a coupon expiring right now. We have a coupon, but we don't have a coupon expiring right now. Coupon released the app. And, like, people are buying this over and over and over again. We're like, I get it, yeah, here. Lifetime AI, me, Kevin membership. Lifetime AI, me, Kevin membership, me, Kevin membership. Lifetime AI, me, Kevin membership, me, Kevin membership. Lifetime AI, me, Kevin membership. Lifetime AI, lifetime AI. So it's like 60% of the selling right now is the lifetime AI. And so it's put a lot of pressure on. And so we're like, we got a lot of I mean, not only are we dealing with all our renovations and our rentals right now that we all acquired, but it's board meeting stuff, it's ending the fundraise. So we're in the office side a little overwhelmed right now, but it's okay. We're good. January is going to be nice and chill, and then we can do things like a merch store. You know, I feel like for us to set up a merch store, we kind of have to be bored, you know? So we're trying our best to prioritize. Anywho. Okay, let's go. Do any of the suits have anything else going on? Talk rate hikes? I don't see rate hikes as happening. Let's see here. You can ask me for my lines any day. You just tell me what stick you want, and we look at them all the time. Kevin, well, how can you not be around a 3.5? Well, because we could, like, I believe if I here, we'll go into my bear bull scale together here really quick. I believe that we don't have the data to talk about, jobs off a cliff yet, right? So I maintain, I don't think, the CPI report was bullish at all. I don't think it tells us anything. So I am maintain 5.4 after CPI. Significant missing data that makes me mostly ignore and discount the enthusiasm around it. We are now catalyst free until Jan 9 jobs, Jan 13 CPI. So hopefully we can be calm between now and then, and we don't see data centers lose funding. If data centers get a second wind of funding and hiring picks up, we can confirm a soft landing, right? TS Lombard style. If markets don't see data center financing happening, markets will continue to sell AI trades. And then that would likely kill January hiring and self-fulfill problems, right? So that's kind of where I am on the bear bull scale. All right. Third bounce at 607. That's tough. Okay. Let's go see what else the suits are saying. All right. So Jan, okay. We have let's see. Super Asia, semi-super cycle. That's for Asia. I've got the year ahead. Let's take a look at that. City, a persistent but volatile bull. Let's take a look at that. Open. Goldman has nothing super exciting. HSBC, ING. Yeah, nobody's talking about the CPI report yet. But JP Morgan has their year ahead piece, which we've already kind of looked at their pieces. They're like, their mindset has been that the bull market is still ahead of us. The bubble, basically. All right. Nice bounce again here on the Qs. Good. Really holding that line. And then I don't really see more, just to do a quick look, I don't see more plain updates. But it's really sad. Here's a picture of him with, that's a 3-engine aircraft. That's not, that might be like a Falcon. Here's a photo of them. Wife, daughter, son, cowboy boots. This looks like Florida out there. Oh, no, I don't know where that is. Like, oh, it's North Carolina. Okay, that's sad. Tied to Greg's mailing address. Does he have like a Twitter or something? Oh, here. The official Twitter page. No. All right, let's go back to stinks. So let's see here. Morgan Stanley, hold on to your hats. We've identified 34 big debates. Power coming to Europe. Okay, this is kind of like a long-term view. Nothing really on like CPI right here. Oh, this is a giant piece on every different sector. Okay. Equity ahead. Top picks by sector. Oh, no. They're picking Carvana. Like, my goal is to see none of my stock picks on JP Morgan's list. I hate them with a passion, and JP Morgan can go to hell. Good. Am I done? So, financials. I think it's funny that under financials they put Citi and not JP Morgan. They don't put their self on their top pick. Roku, Disney, Google, Synopsys, Salesforce. So far, I see none of my top 10 stocks on the JP Morgan list. That makes me very happy. I am elated. I don't want that. I still want to buy my top 10. I don't want them pumping it up. Overall sentiment is constructive. Strong free cash flow, robust balance sheets, and pricing power is what they want to look for. That's fair. I don't disagree with that. Oh, here are their price targets. No Tesla. What do they have for Salesforce? Carvana. I don't know how they're overweight Carvana. This is like a scam. And then I've got Salesforce. They have them at 365. That's probably a fair value. All right. So that's JP Morgan's list. Okay. What do we have here? Equity strategy, persistent bull. We set a 77 target for the S&P. High valuation starting point is a hurdle for the market, but not an insurmountable one. Productivity bailout, valuation. Why is nobody talking about the debt and funding? That's probably the most important part. Where we could be wrong. Slowdown in labor growth. That would probably get us pretty close to a recession in our view. If the unemployment rate gets close to 5%, that's a key risk in the near term. And the other downside is about going back to the consumer, K-shaped recovery, right? That's interesting. They're pegging 5% as like a risk number there. Prices becoming more volatile or unstable as they rise. This is a telltale sign of a bubble. 100% of the last 100 years. Wait, classic hallmarks is stocks becoming unstable as they rise. So like NVIDIA, right? Booms to 214 and then crashes to 170. Normal volatility tends to go up when you have price declines or shocks. Volatility tends to fall as prices rise. We're seeing the opposite happen. Vol rising as prices go up has happened in 9 of the last 9 asset bubbles. Wow. We're seeing signs of instability. While we're seeing that in certain spots like nuclear or quantum, we have not seen it. We have not yet seen that kind of instability that we would expect near bubble peaks in the core of AI. Well, what's the core of AI? Because if it's Oracle you have, I don't know about that. Like, NVIDIA has, Oracle has, right? Micron has not. Market cap of the largest stocks are north of 14% of GDP compared to 4% in the late 90s. Okay. All right. Those are interesting little notes there from Bank of America. Red thread. What is this, about China or something? It's probably about China. Good diversification. When credit demand follows supply, I would like to see more on credit. That's what I want to see. Let me see if I can find more here. Credit. Credit. If there's some sort of disappointment and there's a financial shock or credit shock. Okay. No. Credit markets. Credit events. But if you get a recession, you get a credit event, yields could fall a lot, further than anyone expects. That's my bet. Right there. That's my bet. Literally Kevin's bet to the T. Literally Kevin's bet. Some shock causes yields to plummet fast. So, you know, if there's a soft landing, yields go up. Soft landing, yields go up. That's really, the market seems to be pricing that. Soft landing is being priced because you look at, you look at the 10-year, for example. Okay, anything else on credit? No, then we get disclosures. Okay. Okay. Nice little, somebody hit the sell button there, huh? But really, getting a little stuck there. Okay. Okay. Oh, good. Okay, the community tab worked great for all those of you who went to it. The servers, I was just looking at the results here. The servers held up just fine. So that's good. And if for some reason you have an issue with the community tab, email staff@meetkevin.com, because we don't have server issues, but there might be an enrollment bug with some individual people's enrollment. Okay. Cool. All right. Let's see what else we have. Okay. Hold on to your hats. Yeah, so this is their summary. Tech diffusion, implications of AI disruption, build out of data centers. Do they talk about credit at all? Credit. UniCredit, Credit Agricole, these are companies. Extension of credit, what was that? Oh, it's a disclosure. Okay, fine. Let's see if The Economist has anything for us. Nope. Economist is quiet today. Mostly, we just have the inflation discussion here. Oh, I want to see the comment section over here. Can't trust any information coming out of Trump world. Wouldn't expect anything less than the orange man bad comment. Oh, you gotta love it. Okay, well, we saw that. What was this? The vending machine story, that was hilarious. The Iran hack. What was the other story though? Oh yeah, the Jetway Jesus. Yeah, that was hilarious. Okay. Let's go see if the suits have anything to say. Okay, so if we go to commentary from the suits, we see stocks, gold turns negative, no catalyst at the moment, digestion. Yeah, I think that's the way to put it. It's all just digestion. Indigestion. Show you digestion. Okay, Treasuries gain, we saw that. Micron jumps on rosy outlook, we saw that. Tricolor's fixed, that's true. Blackstone Schwartzman says data centers are not in a bubble. Oh, okay. Blackstone says the data centers are extremely conservative. This is not a bubble. I don't think I've ever heard anything more bubbly. The contrarian. I think that's tweetable. Blackstone CEO says data center spending is extremely conservative and not bubble type work. AKA everything is fine. Okay. Everything is fine. Sponge. Oh, this guy. It's perfect. It's perfect. Extremely conservative. A joke. Well. Oh, look at that. Jeez, man. So sad. Six on board, 5 dead. Wait, we're probably all dead. We don't know yet, though, who is on board. Oh, just sad. Okay. What else? Trading these guys. So what's the market cap on this puppy? I don't even know. I have to multiply by how many shares they have. But a lot of data is missing here. Yeah, very interesting. Kind of market's really struggling to stay above the 607. Part of that's because of this, I think, the core weave, we got core weave rejection, NBIS rejection. Oh, see? This was one of my warnings this morning in the alpha. I said, in order to trust this, you have to see a move up on Oracle. That we would get some kind of move here, and I don't think we will. You know, I think we're going to keep seeing hardware selling. There it is. Oh, let's look at the Oracle CDSs. Credit default swaps. Sup, Kenny. Okay, Oracle 5-year CDSs. Oracle 5-year CDS coming in hot. GP line chart. We have. Oops, I clicked the wrong one. Oracle CDS 5-year. Oh! 156! Let's take a screenshot of that. Oh, man. You know what? I could also go back to 2008. Can I? 2008. No, I can't on this one. Oh, that's all right. Okay, fine. I'll show you this. Shift Windows S. There we go. Okay. That should now pop up on this computer. It did. Look at that. We're now at 156. Oracle CDS rise continues in spite of low inflation, numbers. Okay, not great, not great. All right, so let's see if the information updated anything fun. I don't think we finished looking at the OpenAI valuation. Who was funding this? This is talks. Oh, preliminary talks. That's right. It's lining up funding for more than $60 billion it's already raised. It's not clear which investors besides Amazon are considering investing. Right, because nobody's thinking about investing. Everybody's diversifying from the stock market to invest into house hack. House hack! All right, it reminds me, I put my banner up on screen, right? Doesn't that look great? Isn't that a sexy banner? It's a good banner. It's a good banner. A little bit more green for Christmas, I think, would have been nice. But the same would be true in the stock market. Okay, press conference on the Greg Biffle crash, Biff crash, did not indicate whether or not he was actually on board. They declined to say. Man, I feel like if they knew he wasn't on board, they would have said, like, IMO, if they knew he wasn't on board, they would have said at least that. Okay. Good old Twitter. Okay. Warn of flaws. Yeah, of course. We know it's flawed. Oh, I keep getting distracted off the OpenAI article. OpenAI, the Saudis. Last month generating $19 billion in annualized revenue. Right, but we don't know if that's still growing. Company on track to beat its revenue goals. However, the company has forecast it will burn $26 billion this year and next. Oh, wow. En route to more than $100 billion in cash burn over the next 4 years as it spends money on servers and talents. Yeah, we're still holding on to 607. Fundraise marked, a new higher watermark. Raising revenues, projections. These are all their projections, right? I don't trust projections. People keep asking me, Kevin, make projections for house hack, and I keep saying, no. I don't like doing projections. Although there are some on just some basic ideas for our AI and AI pricing on househack.com or reinvest.com. OpenAI has a problem. Unfortunately, the problem is how it makes most of its money. ChatGPT. We revealed that over the past year, staffers of OpenAI have noticed that improvements to the company's models weren't necessarily lifting usage. Oh. Ooh. Statesville, North Carolina has numerous racetracks. Oh, really? It's a very popular area for race car drivers to be and travel to and from. Oh, interesting. Didn't know that. Yeah. Which reminds me, what's the weather tomorrow? Kevin's going on a trip tomorrow. Weather. But I want snow. So tomorrow, 20% chance of rain in the afternoon for landing. That's fine. And then Saturday, snow. Let's go. Sunday, snow. A little bit of snow. Okay, that's fine. Tuesday's got snow. Okay. All right, so there'll be some drizzle of snow. Should be fun. All right. If you follow me on IG, I promise I'll post some ski photos. It's kind of exciting. And then, yeah. Let's see here. Okay, cool. So, our quandary is that focusing too much on increasing the chatbot's appeal could draw away resources. Right. From artificial general intelligence. You're not going to get artificial general intelligence. Not happening. If you're betting on AGI, I think you're making a big mistake. My opinion. Nevertheless, there are growing signs the company is shifting its research to be more aligned with its products. OpenAI hope to release more models frequently than in the past, once a month. Current employee told me. We've already seen this trend. GPT-1, GPT-2. Smart way to build while avoiding building up too much hype on a particular model. Sure, just incremental releases. Products are deeply interconnected, not oppositional. Oh, you know what we should do? We should have names for the like version numbers or whatever for our AI, just so it's easier to track. I don't know how much it really matters. Pre-training has struggled to show improvements, but getting better results in pre-training matters, right? Because this is how Google was able to dominate. Okay, this has made them more optimistic that there's still a lot of room to grow. We learned during the reporting process for today's article that many GPT users simply don't understand the full range of things they can do with the chatbot. Well, I believe that, but the thing is, you know, people are by virtue going to stop using it at the point where they've gotten their answer. So maybe you don't need to keep using all these extra tools. Like, analyze a picture of a houseplant to understand why it's dying. Well, I mean, like, I think people know that. I don't know about that. I disagree with that. I think people already know that they can search with pictures. Yeah. The big issue is if they don't get this financing, it's all poopers. Okay, we saw this. That news. GPT, Foreign Affairs. I'll look at that separately. 6.5, so the spread's down a bit. Okay, that's boring. Okay. Fine. Tricolor. Nothing new here today. It's so quiet. I mean, we might just have to do a summary of the struggle. Yeah, all right, we might do that. Okay. Well, let me see what they're saying really quick.
So really, you can see right there, they are not trading as if there's an imminent change in the Fed's attitude. The irony here is this. Housing inflation is probably declining, but it takes a while for those declines to show up in the CPI. This looks to be too much too fast to be credible to a lot of economists, and we might have to wait until December or even January to get an accurate read. Well, we might get an accurate read when I talk tomorrow morning with John Williams, the president of the New York Fed, exclusively.
Everyone, by the way, can't wait for this interview because he moved Treasury yields a lot the last time that he spoke. So I would say, based on observations so far, the responses seem somewhat politically split. The left-leaners think that this report is nonsense. The right-leaners, if I may call them that, think that it's based on real enough or legitimate enough data. So I'm looking for the crossover, Steve. I want someone to break with the ranks and come out with a strong opinion against the grain.
So here's the thing. There's a specific thing that might have happened that has been written about by a major investment bank that was in my report up until half a minute ago. And I took it out because I haven't been able to check it with the BLS.
Okay.
If that's true, then it will be empirically true that this number is not to be trusted.
If what is true?
If this story about what's happening with housing is true. But I don't want to get it wrong and come back on here and say, Kelly, let me back on. I have to correct a mistake.
I will
So
lead
I'm
you
being
there. I will lead you into speculative.
I will tell you it is objectively true that there are multiple questions about the housing number.
Right.
Which was 0.3 and now it's like 0.13.
But my understanding is it still tracks with what we're getting on like the Zillow data
No,
and other
it was tracking like that for a year. It's always been there. That was a big question in the Biden administration. Why wasn't the decline in housing picked up?
Yeah. Let's summarize this. All right. I feel like I got a mosquito bite. I don't know how I got a mosquito bite. I don't really have mosquitoes out here. Maybe it's like an ant bite. Ugh. So it says here, FYI, there was a survivor from the crash who was airlifted at 11 a.m. landed at Carolinas Medical Center. No way, dude. Holy smokes. They would have had to have gotten, like, honestly, ejected. Like, maybe somebody not wearing a seatbelt, like honestly like a kid, and then gotten thrown out of it and they're alive. That's crazy. If that's true. That would be crazy. Greg Biffle was on backstretch banter with us for an hour to talk about his relief efforts. Wikipedia states Greg has passed away. Oh, wow. Cause of death plane crash. So, how does Wikipedia know? Let me see. No, it looks like that was already edited back. So, yeah, that's the problem. Like, that's way too early to say. Let's go to see if they were including any kind of source. So, protected Greg Biffle due to excessive editing. Oh, so people were going in, dicking around with it. So they protected the article, removed unconfirmed information. So this is actively getting edited a lot right now. Jeez. Local media reporting that Biffle and his family were on board. Still not confirmed. I don't think they're saying that. No, they're saying unconfirmed. Yeah, they're not reporting. They're saying unconfirmed. Yeah, no, this is still the same thing we've seen. Yeah. Okay, let's talk about this inflation issues. Propaganda, yeah, no kidding. All right. So, Nick T. So here's what we know. The data this morning was a farce. This isn't a surprise because if you actually look at the data for the September to October change or October to November change on the right for the CPI report, it's basically blank. And then the only things that we saw were gasoline numbers and some housing numbers as well as some transportation numbers. And so a lot of people are blatantly pissed off saying these numbers are fully rigged and not to be trusted, which is exactly what the Federal Reserve said. To show you the magnitude of the changes of the data this morning, take a look at this chart right here. CPI housing inflation. The orange line represents Zillow's kind of trailing, data on the housing. Now, the reason they lag it by 12 months is to try to align it with the owner's equivalent rent chart. The Zillow single-family rent data does not lag by 12 months, but they're telling you they purposefully lagged it by 12 months to show it align better with CPI, because CPI is always like a year behind, right? What's interesting about this is that the CPI numbers we got this morning actually show that CPI has now plummeted below the Zillow rent index in spite of the lag already of 12 months. So they're somehow catching owner's equivalent rent not only up to Zillow, because even with a 12-month delay, it still lags, but all of a sudden now it's shooting ahead of the Zillow rent index, showing that rents have actually fallen below than what Zillow is tracking. Obviously, this data is extremely sus and questionable. In fact, when you jump it over here, what was basically done is the Bureau of Labor Statistics deleted the biggest contributor to core inflation. They just set it to 0 for October. And by setting housing inflation, the 34% contributor to CPI inflation, the 25% contributor to PCE inflation, to 0, they basically said, hey, don't look at core goods rising at a rate of 1.9%. You know, in COVID, we were rising at 0%, or pre-COVID, we were rising core goods prices by 0%. There was no goods inflation. Instead, let's just set housing to 0 and hide all of this tariff bump of inflation and call it a good report. So this morning in my alpha report, I said, hey, I think there's a good case to be made that we're going to dump to 607 at open. And if we hold that, it's good, and we could go on a slow slog up. Now, why slow slog up? Because we don't have any other catalysts. We have rigged data between now and mark your calendar for January 9th and January 13th. That's when we're going to get jobs and CPI data for December that hopefully is at least less rigged. But this data is kind of the last data that we get for this year, and we're kind of sitting around twiddling our thumbs until next year. This morning, we were trading in the pre-market, right about here at about 609. And I'm like, watch for a 607 before you do anything. I think institutions are going to dump this puppy because they'll look at this data and go, this data's bullcrap. So look what happened. Dump, bounce right at 607. Literally the line we called out in the alpha report, we bounced within 8 cents. Remember, you can get lifetime access at mekevin.com. Use the coupon code, release the app. We bounce again within 24 cents of the line. And we come again within 51 cents of the line. So really critical line here at 607. One thing to pay attention to is Oracle is not catching bids. Oracle was up about 2.9% this morning on sort of like a dead cat recovery bounce. And it's actually bleeding out, which is bearish the data centers. CoreWeave is having trouble holding on to that 68.47 line, now rejecting it. Look at Oracle CDSs. Oracle CDSs tell you that private credit is still an issue. We're still seeing Oracle credit default swaps rise, not only to the highest level since 2008, but we were already at the highest level since 2008 over here. Then we went to 140, 150, now 156. So the private credit issue is still an issue. We still need to finance these data centers. If we look at the OpenAI news, we could see that OpenAI is now actively trying to raise tens of billions of dollars at a valuation of $750 billion. We need this financing to go through to stick a soft landing. Now, T.S. Lombard says, guys, don't worry. Everything is fine. The economy is actually underestimating how bullish things are going to be. That's literally what they're saying. T.S. Lombard says the 2026 consensus is wrong. The 2026 consensus is that we'll have steady global growth and a bit of disinflation, and it'll look a lot like 2025. The problem they're saying is they actually think we're going to see a stronger rebound in activity. Now, maybe that'll be true. But what you have to get through is you have to get through labor recession risks and AI bubble risks. How do you know that we're getting through those? In my opinion, Oracle starts rebounding and OpenAI gets its funding. If Oracle can meaningfully rebound from this disaster and start recovering, like let's set some precedents or some rules of the game here, rules of engagement, we'll call them, okay? Let's put this away. Oh yeah. Look at that. My alpha report. Holding 607. If we bounce off 607 within the first 12 minutes, bullish. It's literally what happened. But again, we're just catalyst light until Jan 9, right? Which is generally a bullish thing. So, criteria for bullish, okay? What do we need? 607 hold. We've already done that 3 times. 3 times already now. We've already done that. But on top of that, we want Oracle to catch a bid, and we want OpenAI to get funding. As long as these things happen, then we can see a case for hiring and a soft landing. I mean, I make the comparison that HouseHack is going to hire 2 more devs in January. We're growing our devs because we're seeing a lot more profitability than we expected from our AI. I got a note this morning that our fundraise over the last week, as of the update from this morning, is this number right here, which we're blown away that, let that focus there, that in a week, we could do essentially nearly $2 million of fundraising. And the fundraise closes at the end of the month. It's crazy to us. But we actually see it as bullish for AI software and hiring, so maybe T.S. Lombard will be right. See, they think that the weakness at the bottom of the K will be balanced out by strength at the top, and as long as big tech keeps investing in AI, households can keep spending. I agree with them, but it's the only way data centers keep spending is if we don't have a financing issue. See, this is where Bank of America has a podcast, and they actually say that one of the classic hallmarks of a bubble is prices becoming unstable as they rise. I mean, look at the volatility we saw in Tesla. We get all-time highs 2 days ago, then we crash 5% today. Today we see 4% up again, on the bounce. We're seeing a lot of volatility. Now, they say the volatility so far has been constrained to sectors like nuclear and quantum, which typically we see volatility rising as prices go up. We've seen this in 9 out of 9 of the last asset bubbles. Now, they say we're not seeing that yet in artificial intelligence. I make the argument that no, we are, depending on where you look. I mean, look at Oracle. Volatility is rising in Oracle. We've got volatility rising and prices down on AMD. The same is true if you go to NVIDIA, wherever NVIDIA is. We ran to like 210 on the day, I think 214 intraday, 212 on the day, I guess. Now we've been bleeding down, although we're stabilizing a bit over here. But this is why I think it's so important that we need to see Oracle catch a bid, because if Oracle catches a bid, the CDS pain will reduce, and then we could actually see data center financing, and we could keep seeing the bubble and the Ponzi keep going. Great. We start losing that, we have a problem. At the same time, if we lose that, we could potentially get unemployment closer to 5%. Bank of America makes the argument that getting the unemployment rate to 5% is very bearish. because that starts signaling the recessionary indicators. That's when the alarm bells start going off, right? Somebody here writes, how can I apply as a dev? Just email staff@meetkevin.com if you want. That's probably the easiest way to do it. And then we'll take your app and we'll forward it to the dev team and they'll look at it. So 5% unemployment would be a red flag. But then they also, in their Bank of America, say this here. I think to be lower on yields, you clearly need to see the economy come closer to recession. This is literally the Kevin thesis right here. You're going to need to see one of those credit events, whether it's in crypto or private credit, private capital, or the Japanese bond market. There are a lot of areas it could come from. But if you get a recession, you will get a credit event, and yields could fall a lot further than anyone thinks. This is basically the TLT bet, right? This is my take, is that some shock causes yields to plummet much faster than people think. I think this is going to happen. I think a way to, a long way to hedge for this, long real estate exposure, obviously biased house hack, right? But then also long mortgage companies like UWMC. Somebody in the community tab of our course member app this morning, they were talking about UWMC, and I looked into their UWMC post. So UWMC, here was their post. They asked about UWMC has announced they're acquiring, making an acquisition. So they're acquiring TWO, and they're doubling their mortgage servicing rights. Think about this basically as getting mortgage statement exposure for advertising for the refinance boom. I think there's going to be a massive refinance boom if we have one of these credit events. And that's why I think a way to hedge for one of those events is long mortgage companies, slowly though, slowly, because they're very volatile stocks. And long real estate exposure, which is low vol. So those are hedges, right? Low vol. That's why I say it's like, you don't have to invest in house hack, read the offering circular before you do. You can invest in mortgage companies very slowly. Slowly diversify away. You take some profits from a Tesla or whatever, you slowly diversify away. This, in my opinion, gives you some upside in a credit event. The stocks could go down in the short term, but over time, as people start refinancing and unlocking their equity in their homes, that's when those mortgage company plays, I think, get very, very expensive very rapidly. So that's interesting. So it all makes sense. Like, to me, I could put this together pretty simply by arguing that this is the criteria for being bullish. We lack catalysts, right? We lack catalysts until Jan 9 to 13. No news is good news. And as long as we could stay positive, then we could see the case for hiring and a soft landing. Risk is that Jan 9, unemployment looks bad, closer to 5%. Participation rises, layoffs accelerate rather than hiring. And then you have a credit event, and you want hedges, again, via either real estate, long, or, slow diversification to mortgage plays. Bank of America's HeartNet reiterates that. He always does the flow show piece, by the way. He's the guy that talks about that exposure of cash balances being at record lows, 3.3%. Big contrarian sell signal. JP Morgan is bullish 26. I looked at this list because I think JP Morgan could go to hell. But I looked at theirs. I hate them with a passion. But JP Morgan has a list of stock ideas for 2026. And so I wanted to look at their stocks to make sure none of my stocks were on their list. And I'm very happy to say that none of the course member top 10 stocks to buy are on the JP Morgan list. Because I contrarianly hate them. They didn't even, which I did think was funny, they didn't even put JP Morgan on their financial sheet for financial stocks. But they've got stocks on here like Alphabet, Roku, Disney. And I'm tempted by Disney, but I haven't bought Disney yet. I actually have 2 Mag 7s in my media and teleco list on my top 10 stocks to buy that are not on here, which is great. I'm very happy because I don't want to be where everybody else is. Then you can't make money. If you're where everybody else is, you can't make money. So very interesting. And I noticed they put Salesforce on here as one of their upside plays. I have a very Carvana. This is like stupid. Very, very dangerous play, especially in a downturn. Salesforce isn't bad. I have a very similar play that I think is better than Salesforce because their cash flow is better, their pricing power is better. I'll just give it to you. It'll be a free sample, okay? Free sample. I think that UiPath is a way better play. And I hope they go down because I want to increase my exposure to them. But if you actually look at the financials for them, their pricing power is going up, their operating leverage is going up, their free cash flow is going up, they're buying back stock, they've got like a fortress balance sheet, and they've got a kind of a cheap valuation because they've gone to crap since 21. And so everybody's kind of forgotten about how UiPath has exposure to financial AI and healthcare AI without me having to actually pick healthcare and financial AI. And maybe I should do a standalone video on it. But I think that's a huge play. So this is a little freebie, I guess. Over the long term, I'm hoping it doesn't like have any kind of meme crap because, then it makes it hard to buy. Micron obviously had fantastic earnings this morning, or last night rather. They're kind of like the TSM of America. You have to be careful though because Micron is a very cyclical play and they're a lagging tell. So don't look at Micron as a tell for what Oracle's going to do, because you have to look at it like this. The way money goes is you borrow, then you spend on data centers like Oracle, then Oracle buys chips and memory, right? Okay, so that's the order. So Micron shows up over here, right? So they're not a leading tell. A leading tell is financing for data centers. That's at the far left side. And that's where you want to pay attention. This is why that OpenAI fundraise is kind of important to pay attention to. Somebody says, Tony, is this the same Tony as yesterday? We like Tony. I talked to Lauren about Tony yesterday. Isn't skepticism around CPI the perfect setup for the next bull run? As the market climbs a wall of worry into the next year and CPI eventually starts going, yeah, I'm not worried about CPI. I actually agree with you that even though these CPI numbers are rigged, okay, CPI is going to plummet, in my opinion. I'm of the camp that CPI will come down no matter what. So I don't really care of this rigged data. But to your point, Tony, T.S. Lombard makes the argument that because they think markets are actually going to zoom, they think that inflation is a greater risk. See? With pent-up demand, reflationary fiscal policy, and improving activity in Europe and China, we suspect the consensus is underestimating the strength of the U.S. economy in 2026. That provides a bullish backdrop for risk assets in the first half. The problem is now that supply is constrained, so stronger growth will feed inflation, cutting the cutting cycle short, right? So, but yeah, this last CPI report was fugazi. I don't think we can really justify a really rapid run in the short term on markets. And I'm more nervous about Oracle not holding up because I think that could drag down the Qs. But I hope that if Oracle can stabilize, we could just have a nice bullish Christmas, slowly move up towards January 9th without any kind of crazy panic. Now, on my bull-bear scale, I've maintained 5-4. Even after the CPI data, I don't really think it's data. And neither does Nick T. If you investigate what Nick T says, he tells us this is mostly like a fugazi number. Mind you, I also wrote on X here, Blackstone CEO says data center spending is extremely conservative and not bubble-style work. Everything is fine. Right, yeah. That to the extent that you believe the Blackstone CEO. But anyway, Nick T says, if you look over here, I am the same Tony, your future BFF. What's up, Tony? Okay, so totally inexcusable. The BLS just assumed owner's equivalent rent was 0 for October. I'm sure they have a good technical explanation for this, but the only way you get a 2-month average for rent at 0.06 and owner's equivalent rent at 0.13 is assuming October was 0. There is no world where this is a good idea. Right. We know it's rigged. So we should ignore this data. And that's why in the Alpha report this morning.
It's because that's why.
I made the argument that institutions were going to snuff out the bull crap and they were going to be sellers. And that's why I was looking for a 607 bounce, which is exactly what we got today. Knock on wood. It was a good call. But point is, to me, long term, this data doesn't matter. Short term, as long as Oracle doesn't fall off a cliff or continue to fall off a cliff, we should be bullish between now through January 9th, slowly on a lack of catalyst. There's no more news between now and January 9th. No Fed meetings, nothing. The biggest concern is that OpenAI, this is the biggest risk. OpenAI comes out and says, hey guys, we're effed. We can't raise money. That would be a big concern because it's so early in the cycle. Going back to Micron for a moment, because I feel like I didn't fully explain this. Micron is a very good business. They are very disciplined. They're free cash flow positive. Pricing power is very strong. They're paying off debt. They're paying off $4.8 of debt for every dollar they're buying back. This is a very strong business. But you have to understand it is late cycle. It is not the leading tell. So if we get a leading tell, like really OpenAI failing over here, that's what you want to pay attention to. This would be your biggest red flag, is OpenAI not making money. That's the biggest concern to pay attention to. Now, some other entertaining things that you could look at, just from a pilot point of view. I mean, prayers obviously to Greg Biffle. I made a separate video on good old Biff. But on a more entertaining side, where was it? There was there's an FAA posting out, a Department of Transportation ruling out that companies like Archer and Joby might be able to conduct their air taxi services as regular airplanes rather than VTOLs, like vertical takeoffs. But if you miss the V in eVTOL, you basically have EOTOL, you know, electric takeoff and land. Nobody cares. Like, I'd rather buy Cirrus Aviation stock then. So the whole vertical aspect is the whole damn point, that I could go land at helipads and land in places that planes can. I don't only want to go airport to airport. If I want to go airport to airport, I just fly a Cirrus. So I wasn't really enthused about that. And then I do think it's a little bit of a slow news day because the Wall Street Journal had this hilarious piece about how people are now praising the Jetway Jesus. And so basically the idea is that TikTok is circulating a hack to where you could get priority to board early if you ask for a wheelchair, and then you get to prioritize like overhead compartment space. But somehow, miraculously, when you land, most of the passengers that needed wheelchairs to get on miraculously got up and walked towards baggage claim. And so people are now calling this the Jetway Jesus, that basically somehow while people are on their planes, they are miraculously no longer disabled. So they get the VIP experience going in, and then they just get up and run out on the way out. Somehow, on their flight, they're able to be healed. It says here, sometimes there are up to 50 wheelchairs boarding a plane that only seats 130 passengers. And all of a sudden, people are healed by the time they land. And so I thought it was potentially a sign of a slow news day that we're talking about the Jetway Jesus on the Wall Street Journal. The Wall Street Journal is also talking about how they let AI run their office vending machine. And apparently this Claude vending machine ended up called Claudius, ended up giving away PlayStations and a lot of food as a marketing experiment. And they're like, this AI sucks because it just gives away PlayStations, underwear, cigarettes, pepper spray, stun guns, and even live fish. Profits collapsed and newsroom morale soared. So apparently, the Claudius AI sucks at running a business, but it's very, very nice. You do have the Financial Times flagging about the warnings in the CPI report, you know, basically saying that a lot of this data was imputed or interpolated or basically bullcrap. I kind of make the argument that Jerome Powell's right. We should take all this data with a grain of salt. Remember, October, where we happened to not get a jobs report, was like the worst labor report we've seen since the, you know, COVID recession. Because we had like negative 150,000 jobs. But nobody saw that headline because Trump buried it in the shutdown. Of course, he was able to release the October CPI numbers. So it's all kind of rigged. We can't really trust the numbers. And I think Jerome Powell is right to say, don't trust the numbers. This is rigged. Be careful. Take it all with a grain of salt. So that just leaves me hoping that we keep seeing the data center financing plays get their money. And that's how you could be optimistic about the market. As soon as that funding dries up, it's all crap. It all sucks. It all goes to poopy doopy. That's my take. So anyway, with all that said, stay safe out there. Prayers, obviously, to the plane crash. We did cover the plane crash in a separate video this morning if you want to see what's going on with the Cessna plane crash. And, well, folks, good luck out there. Stay safe. I got to go do some work with House Hack. Maybe we'll get over 2 million within a week today. I think we will, given that we're $1,100 away. So we'll see when the numbers start coming through. Anyway, thanks for being here, folks. We'll see you in the next one. Goodbye and good luck.